Good evening and welcome back to the Forbidden Lands, also known as our campaign, Seven Raven. I'm here joined with us, the friends of the Streampunks tonight. How's everybody doing? I hope y'all are doing quite lovely this evening. Since we had such a very lighthearted, easygoing, chill game last time, we're just gonna keep. I think we're just gonna keep that going. It's just gonna be like nice, chill vibes, and just gonna be playing some lo-fi hip hop in the background, maybe. Just like maybe light a couple of joints and just have a glass of wine.
Some trip hop,
yeah.
please.
Yeah, chill punks. Here we go. Before we get into tonight's game, a couple of announcements. One is, if y'all haven't seen it yet, Streampunks has new merch up on the store by now. By the time of this airing, we will have a couple of new items, so definitely go check it out. I think you'll be very pleased with what you see there. And if you want to support the Streampunks and stuff that we're doing, that's one great way of doing it. And of course, you have our Coffee and Patreon. Coffee in particular is where we're centering a lot of our interactivity with our fan base. So if you want to go check us out and sign up there, you are making productions like this, these little interim games, and our upcoming campaign possible. As for announcements, my announcement personally is we are getting closer to the return of the Gax Pack over on GaryCon Live. It's been a hot minute. We've been gone since the since ye old holidays, since Yule time, as it were.
It's been 84 years.
It's been 84 years. And we're going to be coming back and defeating evil. And you guys will finally get to see Leve and the gang get back together. I believe I should have probably written this down in a note before I did an announcement.
I know the date. You mean?
Is it the 7th?
Do I feel 27th.
Like the 27th. So I was
February.
I was really just very close.
One
just
digit off.
Yeah,
and maybe a whole month off.
Off by 20 days. All right. And that's the only announcements I have. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to announce or shout at the audience to support before we begin tonight's bloodletting? Anybody? Yes, Sam.
Oh, well, I mean, if we're just shouting at the audience to support all of these lovely streamers, that shouldn't go unsaid. But if you want particulars, I can tell you that last week, dear audience, I lied. I'd love to say that it was deliberate and with malice aforethought, but unfortunately it was not. And in hyping up the season premiere of Power Play, I erred because the season premiere has moved an additional week. We're starting this coming Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific time on Sunday on Q Times. I'm in it. BeeZelda is in it. And frankly, that should be entirely enough. But Power Play, you've heard me say it, is something very, very special and far better than it has any right to be. It should be the TikToks and the memes. And, well, go and visit all our streams and then you'll come true our dreams. Thank you.
I have to say that I'm not entirely supportive of superheroes, but, you know, at least...
Kylan, get out of here!
That sounds like something a supervillain says.
No, I'm just a humble corporate overlord. I fully support everything.
So humble.
Let me guess, you have good ideas for how to fix the world, right?
Yeah. Anybody else have any announcements?
I do.
Up to anything? Yeah, what's up?
I do. I figured out my scheduling last night. So I know what's happening in my life soon. 2 days after we are here tonight airing, I'm going to be in a Wild Amount campaign over on D&D Beyond. And that's going to be Wednesdays at 3 p.m. live on D&D Beyond's Twitch channel. And then also this coming week on Saturday the 5th, I will be bringing back the 4-part finale, season 1 finale of Lords of Faerun, the D&D 5e campaign that I run that has lots of dragons. It's just like chock full of dragons. Dragon here, you get a dragon, everybody gets a dragon. So we're going to be finishing out our season 1 in 4 very exciting installments starting February 5th. And those are my updates. Wait, I thought there was something else I was going to say, but I forgot. Metagame. Oh, metagame is soon. February 8th is the next metagame. Your girl still hasn't picked the game, but I will, I promise.
Metagame is the
Sometimes it
game that
happens,
Aliza
like,
runs
the
our
week
Discord
before.
server on the Streampunks Discord server.
It's yes. If you like indie games and the people who play them like us, then come subscribe for $10 a month, and you can watch Metagame.
It's a great
All
way
right.
to be introduced to systems you might never have seen and modules and settings that you wouldn't have otherwise. So far, it has been Powered by the Apocalypse system called Pasión de las Pasiones that was just absolutely exquisite. A solo play that Aliza did that just should not be missed. And generally, treat yourself. Watch more solo plays. They're very good. As well as a Neverland setting of 5e. So this is the kind of stuff that Metagame does. I've really just enjoyed it as a consumer of Aliza related content, and strongly recommend checking out whatever it is that's coming on February the 8th.
Endorsed by Sam. Thank you.
All right. I think that's it for our announcements today. Correct?
I did have one more, if that's all right, though.
Okay, sure. What's up?
I have vengeance for last week, and I'm excited.
Let's go ahead and jump into tonight's game of Seven Raven.
Yes.
Welcome back. Let's go ahead and jump into tonight's chapter 3 story of Seven Raven. We open tonight's story on a hill that overlooks much of Seven Raven itself, not far from the perch, a place where both can be clearly seen underneath these cloudy fall skies. There is a light rain that has fallen, so there's drizzle collecting, little droplets of water that are collecting on the leather padded armors that all of you are wearing, save Thaedra, of course. Gim is there with his arm in a sling, still healing. The blacksmith is dressed as well as he can be. Most of his clothes are smudged and dirty. He is remaining quiet as you all watch from about 100 feet away as the funeral pyre burns underneath this gray sky. By now, the people of Seven Raven have learned that something happened at the perch, but details are still not clear. All they know is that the Miststalkers have been very unapproachable recently, the past couple of days. A couple of envoys have been sent from the council to inquire what the issues were. Gim very sternly but politely sent them away and said that it will be addressed soon enough. You've all taken the past couple of days to collect what's happened, and what your mindsets are, what you wish to do, and if you wish to remain a Miststalker, if you're ready to leave this, if you have agendas, well, that's all up to you. Gim has definitely voiced his interest in staying. He believes the perch is his home, and has tearfully reminded everybody again and again how Tylus, though a bit unfocused, was a caretaker of this place. and gave Gim a place to work his trade, a fair deal to be somebody who supplies the Miststalkers with repairs and equipment. He doesn't want to leave. And has been a little nervous and kind of taking everyone's temperature, asking you random questions that seem to be open-ended, as though he's trying to steer you into giving him a snapshot of what your mindset is, if you're going to maybe reveal whether or not you're sticking around or not. But today, not so much. Today, the conversations haven't been quite the same. Today has been a very solemn, very quiet day. If you can imagine, it is a very Scottish scene in that it is extremely green, it is extremely wet from the rains that are drizzling overhead, and the gray skies and the gray clouds that are rolling in off of the lake just continue to add to sort of the sorrowful atmosphere as you're all standing before this funeral pyre about 100 feet away, smoke carrying it up into the skies. And the scene is yours. The deed is done. The gods have been told that Tylus is coming.
Well, now what do we do? Do we continue as Miststalkers, or... I mean, I want to follow wherever the action is. I am the best goblin minstrel ever, so I'm just going to continue what I do best.
Gim turns and looks at everybody and says, "Oh, are we having this conversation now then?"
Oh, I couldn't help myself. The moment was rather sorrowful.
No, I agree. I think maybe we should talk about this. I think everyone knows where I stand. I know that this was sort of Tylus's idea, and that he had an idea of what the Miststalkers were going to be, and it was a bit idealistic, but it was a good way of making money. And I don't know, it was a little bit more than that for me, and I won't begrudge anyone who wants to leave, but I'm going to stay.
Are you going to be the new leader?
Me? No, gods, no. I'm just a blacksmith. No, please don't look at me for leadership. I can help repair. I can help build. I'm not a leader.
Too bad. Because the Miststalkers are functionally itinerant. One has to go places to hunt monsters, which means the leader is the one who stays here, who interfaces with the council, who keeps continuity at the perch. Things have to be different now, and we're all going to do things that are a touch uncomfortable. For instance, someone has to cook tonight.
Well, I do know how to cook.
I can light fires.
That's two things that can happen tonight, I suppose.
I can go hunting.
Okay, now we got a team. Is there somebody that can perhaps procure something other than meat? Do we have potatoes? Greens?
Gim seems distracted as he kind of starts to look back towards the funeral pyre 100 feet away.
We should have some type of supplies in the kitchen. Rice and beans and
good
things like that.
Trip down to the hill to the market if needed.
I just want to say, though, look, I know life goes on and all that stuff, but we've got unfinished business to finish. And that unfinished business to finish is avenging the name of one Tylus, the Miststalker. And I won't rest until it's done.
That was well said. Is this something that you all want to do? Vengeance?
The
Yes.
Miststalkers were built to fight monsters, not men.
But what if those men are more monsters than men?
Then one finds oneself embroiled in all of the wars and petty squabbles of lords. It is a boundary for a reason, and you will find no one more eager than I to cross it, particularly for the sake of the Rust cult. But it is no small vengeance to undertake, and it is not what he had asked us to do as our mission. Whether or not we contravene that is another thing entirely.
I'm just disturbed. Marek and the Rust Brotherhood, I can't see a reason why they would target Tylus or the Miststalkers. I just don't understand that. I don't understand it. I don't know why that happened. And I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. I thought Marek was one of us. I thought he was one of us. What reason could he have for betraying us? What madness would have to have seized him to turn him against us? Or was he always a Rust brother? And if that's the case, then why? Why go through all the trouble? And clearly waited until you were all gone and killed Tylus in such a way. It wasn't just death by combat. It was ritual. It was sacrifice. It was awful. I don't understand so much. I don't understand, but I just feel like there's something more going on here. I feel like it's just more than. I feel like it's just more.
Can Gordon do some type of insight roll? And this is actually Gordon having taken a level of insight recently, just trying to be more aware of things and be more just in tune with what's going on around him. I think what Gordon is wondering is if Tylus has some type of special ancestry or history or background that would make him important to the Rust brothers. If there's anything Tylus might have ever said or hinted at, or any clues about that type of connection that Gordon might try to recall.
I wouldn't make you roll for that.
Okay.
I would say the silence that falls after Gim stammers a bit and says what he has to say gives you a moment, Gordon, to ponder if there was something you missed. Because Gordon apparently thinks Gim has an interesting point and is curious about it himself. But nothing in your memory jumps out as to, not Tylus specifically. There's just not enough information. You guys, if you really want to go down that road, you're going to need to learn more about this whole, everyone involved. There's just huge gaps in the lore you're not sure about.
Y'all see Gordon just all of a sudden just rubbing his brow really hard and like, oh God, this whole thing has got me using my brain more than I ever have in my life. This is hard.
Be careful. I do not want to see steam coming out of your ears, because if that happens, well, I don't know what to do, and just take
Is
it
there
easy.
is like an herb for that? Like steam coming out of the ears, using your brain too much?
Let's focus. Let's focus. Gim just pipes up. You can see a little bit of emotional distress in his eyes as he just like, please.
Yes. Okay. So
Yeah.
we have some gaps at where there is information that we do not have. Did Tylus ever keep a ledger, like perhaps the comings and goings of any visitors that we had here?
Ledger.
A journal information. I like to read stuff. It makes for better content when I go to sing it later.
I may have seen him writing one time in a book.
Is this the time to perhaps raid his chambers? Oh, raid is not the best word, but investigate. We will investigate his chambers.
It's worth a suppose. Yeah, I'll follow. Although I do want to come back eventually to this talk about being a leader. And actually, let me just go ahead and say this. I'm more than willing to be a steward of the Miststalkers. I don't want to make leadership decisions, but if you want someone to care for the place we are gone and perhaps represent and speak to anyone who might come in with jobs, I'm more than happy to do that. I know nothing about tactics or what we should do or that sort of thing. But I think that should be left up to you. And then I can do the rest. I'm happy to do the rest if that's acceptable to all of you.
It's a start.
Right. Well, I think I know where the keys to his study are, and I can, or his room, and I can go get those, and we could look, I suppose.
I am ready if everyone else is. Sylvain, you've been awfully quiet. I know there is a lot to mourn and consider, but are you well?
Sylvain's not standing with you.
Oh, where were you? Sorry.
She
She's
has
just not
wandered
there.
off at some point, probably when it started to get a little bit odd. And she
near the
has gone
beginning.
and sat herself in front of the funeral pyre. So she's just sitting in the grass.
So y'all would probably see the figure of Sylvain, just knees pulled up to her chest as she's sitting in front of the funeral pyre, probably about maybe 10 feet away from it. And Sylvain, you can feel the heat wafting off this as it is continuing to crack and roar towards the sky.
Okay. Well, then I would like to kind of pop over to her. Sylvain, are you going to join us in the investigation? We are going to look in Tylus's bedchambers for clues about what has happened.
I don't think I'll join you there. I think I'm going to go see Mason.
Oh. Very well. Be safe, and if you need any help,
I might as well take that manticore head down to the council member too.
can you carry both, or could we push Gordon with you?
I mean, I can carry the head. I can't carry both, but the tail is for Daedry.
Oh, gross. Right.
Yes,
I
they
forgot.
wanted to do something with it.
With the poison bits, yes.
But I figure if if anybody's going to know anything about where Tylus came from, probably going to be Mason.
I like to see what you think. This is very good. All right, I wish you good luck.
All right, if you find anything, well, let's just hope you find something.
We are going through these things every dead man. It is rare that you do not find something, at least a little bit of something, you know?
Right, and she'll stand up and like brush off her pants and kind of meander back over to Gordon and say, where'd you put the head?
It's in the courtyard.
Oh, that's going to be disgusting. All right. I'm going to head down and see Mason. You can come with me if you want. I know you said you wanted to see your mom. But it's up to you, I guess.
Yeah, I'll hop over there with you. Shall we grab the head?
Sentences you never think you'll say. And she just keeps walking.
Okay.
Gordon
Who
will
is-
follow.
Okay, so Gordon's going to follow Sylvain, and Daedry and Jakob, along with Gim, are headed back to the keep. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Daedry, Jakob, the two of you and Gim enter into the courtyard, and sure enough, basically over to where the area that has been long since cleared out, that was probably served as the stables at one point in the history of this keep, is in fact a very darkened, bloody, large sack, which you know contains a rotting manticore head. Thankfully, the temperatures out here, and it being getting into the late fall, there is not a swarm of flies currently gathered around that satchel. It is laying, however, and out in the open. And Jakob, you and Gim both detect the scent of decay as soon as you enter into the courtyard. It is something else.
Oh, it's horrible.
Phaedry, it kind of like if you've ever been around like a place that has a lot of mold, where there's this sort of like strange dampness that's a little like it shouldn't be, like the air just feels a little moist. It's kind of heavy in your nostrils a little bit. You're just decay is such that even though you can't really smell it, it does leave a very disturbing, lingering sensation on the very back of your tongue. It's so thick.
Yes, one can react to that simply from it being there beyond one's ability to perceive it, which has on occasion been disconcerting. Is my tail there too?
I would have taken the... I'm assuming you have a room somewhere that you do all your weird experiments in.
Oh, good. At the beginning of that sentence, I was terrified that you were about to just do the most horrifying prank. But no, there's a laboratory.
Yes, I would have gone and thrown it down there.
Thank heaven for small mercies.
Yes.
Small mercies.
Thought about putting it in your bed, but I wasn't in the mood.
Good. Fewer fires in the perch.
Would have been gross.
It still is. So Phaedry will head down to the laboratorium for happy poison gland time, while Jakob and Gim search the room, and Sylvain and Gordon go into town.
Okay. Just to give you a bit of a snapshot of this, Phaedry, the tail's in remarkably good condition, and cutting the bulbous end off at the spines is easy work. Particularly because the sacs were not just the venom inside of this tail were not discharged at all in that combat. So you have oh man, this is gonna keep you busy for a bit. But this is a rare opportunity to get your hands on some pretty potent poisonous liquids. So as you're going to work down in the we call it a laboratory, but Phaedry, just so you know, this down below the main hall could have functioned as a dungeon, could have functioned as it could have been the larder down here. It's hard to say, but some of these open spaces underneath the perch has also, unfortunately, over time, some of the rooms down here have just caved in or filled up with fallen rock, or they are just covered in like moss, where clearly like mold has grown in here. The room that you've selected is large enough may have been a larder at some point, but it has been largely emptied out. You have managed to, over the time you're staying here at the perch, get a bookshelf or two down here, remarkably. And that was a fun day. But this has sort of become your official working area, where you've got a nice little surface where you can put things down, and any containers you can mix things together and do your sorcery work as needed. It's still pretty sparse. But this is your stronghold, which means, particularly in Forbidden Lands, you have the ability to upgrade and create upgrades to your stronghold and build your stronghold outward and make this your home base. You plop that tail, just buds down onto the table, and you begin cutting. Meanwhile, while this is happening, Gim has located a keychain. You see just this old iron rusted key where he pulls out from underneath one of these velvet cloths that's hanging just kind of sideways off the side of the wall, where it looks like one of the tables that got smashed and shattered and pushed up against the wall. Inadvertently covered up and maybe covered the keychains, like the areas where some of the things were hanging on the side of the wall. He just goes over and pulls it out from underneath one of the tables that had wedged itself next to, and he goes, all right, this should theoretically open his door. So let's go.
Right. Let's.
Moments later, y'all are advancing up the ramp to about the third level, which is the least. Everyone's kind of claimed rooms on the second level. He always liked to take the top floor. It's colder, draftier up here. The roof is caved in on a few of the areas, but for whatever reason, Tyler's just liked having an entire floor to himself. There's only one room that's really hospitable for anybody to sleep in. So you make your way down one of the corridors to this room that's about 2 doors down, and you see it to your left. Gim walks over to it and slides the key into the lock, and the door just moves open before he has a chance to turn it. And just goes, and he stops and looks at you for a second, Jakob, as he pulls the key back out and goes, "Oh, all right."
Perhaps you should get behind me, but maybe I should get behind you.
What? No. What? Why? You think something's in there?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll get behind you. And takes a large step back and a very graceful pivot and slides right behind you. It says, "All right, Jakob, this is your moment of glory. Let's see."
Glory.
Yep.
Yes.
Do you want me to hold your instrument or something in case something happens to you?
No, I don't trust. It's not fine. It's fine. I would like to hold Jakob, if they can equip, like just kind of like nervously hold out their. Do I have a crossbow or a bow and arrow? Crap, I can't.
Yeah. What is your? I think you have a
scroll. Short bow, because I'm
short bow.
Short.
You knock an arrow into your short bow. You just keep it, which is important to do because in Forbidden Lands, drawing an arrow and knocking it to the bow it's technically a fast action. So you knock it into the bow so you have that ready in case all hell breaks loose when you open the door. And slowly you push that door open. Just this big wooden plank just push out of the way, and light from the window that looks out over into the hills to the west of the perch. It overlooks the lake. Immediately you get a sense of why Tyler probably was insistent upon this room, because the view is majestic. The curtains are these shabby sort of burlapped makeshift curtains that are just kind of flapping gently in the breeze, and you can see some of the rain has just spilled puddles all onto the floor near that window. Hay strewn about the floor as well. You see a fine collection of what looks like daggers that have been laid out on a table with a cloth. It looks like he may have been cleaning weapons at one point. There is a makeshift weapons rack as well, where you can see a weapon he doesn't use anymore, because ever since he started using his crutch, he abandoned his greatsword that he'd been using quite often in his earlier time. So you see that has been with reverence laid up against the wall and is hanging just at good reaching point, not decoratively. It's hanging on a wall where it looks like if you need to grab it, you can.
Okay.
There's a bed, a couple of satchels, and sure enough, there is in fact a book on what looks like a sort of a shoddy desk that's over just beneath the window. It's got a little bit of water collected on it, and just from this angle, you can tell that the pages have suffered water damage from looking at it.
Yeah.
Nothing else in the room though, except for the fact that it looks like your impression of the room looks like he probably left this room in a hurry. Which is why it's unlocked.
Okay. I'll lower my knocked bow. I think the Z coast is clear. It's
What
kind
is
of
the
sad.
Z coast? I don't know what that is.
The Z coast? Z. It's fine. Come inside.
Right. He follows you in.
It's I've never actually been in here. It's drab. But when I write about it, I'll say Tyler's lived in a great, majestic room with tall bedposts and not these ugly curtains.
Monster trophies, like all over the walls, like the manticore head. Maybe it was mounted on the wall. Maybe
yes,
it had like two
daggers all across
daggers.
the walls. The greatsword was the size of an entire wall too. That's very important detail.
And it was being held by not by wooden studs, but like a griffin's claw.
Oh, you're good at this game. Thank you. We need to team up more like this. Okay, I found the journal. Ooh, this is not. Oh,
you move over and you kind of hear the cracking on the binding as you push it open. Yeah, the parchment's soaked. You can tell that it's very wet. Looks like the rain probably got to it. But the writing, from what you can tell, the ink is all in the parchment, so it's not smearing right now anyway. but you pull it open. There's probably half this book is filled with entries from what it looks like. A trove of, it looks like he kept a journal, maybe for quite a while from the looks of it.
Well, that looked like he was a bit of a wordsmith. This is good, no?
Actually, Jakob, go ahead and make an insight check for me.
Yay, I'm pretty okay at that. Oops, sorry for the background screaming.
Oh, that occurs to me. I should check to see what if Gim can do. Gim Redroots. What is his insight? It's pathetic. Let's find out.
I didn't do great, so I'm a push.
Okay, cool. Oh, add a die. I'm sorry. Gim is going to help you. He's there, so I'm just going to assume he's assisting on all of these things.
What color die?
It's a skill die, so 1 red die.
Thank you.
Since he's assisting.
No successes and a bane.
No successes. Okay.
Bane's
oh, and a bane?
Yeah.
So then you're going to take that point of damage to your wits. Yuck. Which in this case manifests as a bit frustration, because as you're looking at this, you see that indeed looks like some of the water has kind of wreaked havoc on some of the ink on the most recent entries.
This is impossible to read.
Maybe we take I don't know. Maybe we take that to Thaydri. I feel like Thaydri's the one to take that to.
Excellent.
No.
Yes. Let's. Okay, but I have to admit something. I am a little afraid of the head of the manticore, and the tail is there, and the tail kind of smells like if you ever left like eggs that have been left outside and then stepped on.
Yeah, she came in with the thing slumped over her shoulder. It was awful. I guess I could. I've got nose plugs.
Could I have 2 nose plugs? Maybe 4. I could plug up my ears. Would that help? No. Ignore me. It's fine.
So. Don't think that's how that works. Oh, hold on. And goes into a pouch. You see him pull out 2 little rolled up balls of cloth, and he just says, "I'm sorry if they're not clean," and he hands them to you.
Oh, I don't care.
You can keep them. No, I can make more of those.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sometimes you work with materials and you don't want to get a big whiff of when you're working at the smith shop. At least I don't,
I've never
there's certain metals
that
smell kind of bad, believe it or not, when you're working with them. It can be a lot.
Based on your natural odor, I am inclined to agree. I understand.
Yeah.
All right, let us go see Thaydri.
Okay. Okay. You make your way back down. At this point, Gordon and Sylvain are entering into the main hub of Seven Raven. You've walked over the bridge. You've entered through the gates where a few of the guards nod to the 2 of you. They linger they kind of linger their gaze on all of you. It's not a discerning gaze. It's not like they're trying to they're not looking at you suspiciously. Gordon and Sylvain, it looks like they're just kind of looking at you curiously. And no surprise, when you pass through the gate, you can see the 2 of them looking back, and one of them leans over and they start whispering to the other one. And he's nodding, and they kind of point up at the perch.
Sylvain turns around when Gordon's not looking and basically bares her teeth at them.
They give you a look, but they do lean back and stop their conversations.
So, Gordon, which side of the town does your mum live on? I didn't know your mum lived here.
Yeah, I don't tend to visit her very often because she doesn't like my lifestyle. She doesn't like that I court danger and do bravery and all that. But and I've been avoiding seeing her, especially since Tyler's mishap, because this is the type of stuff she doesn't like to hear about.
So don't tell her.
Nah, I've never been able to lie to my mum. She
You don't
always
have to
gets the
lie.
truth
You just don't
out of
have to
me.
say anything.
You'll see when you meet her. She gets the truth.
What? No, I'm not meeting someone's mother.
Well, why not? She's right down this alley right here.
I'm not meeting anybody's mother. No. If you definitely don't want your mother disapproving of your lifestyle, you don't want me meeting your mother. I mean, look at me.
What?
Come on now. I can wait for you here. And she just like sits on the ground at the front of the alley.
I'm just gonna sit in the dirt like that. You're too proper for that. Come on, just come in, have a bit of tea or something.
How long have you known me?
I know, but you're like fancier than I am, you know.
You have a brush to make your fur shiny.
That's
I
my
haven't
one
washed my
thing I
hair in
do.
2 weeks.
Well, look, you have some things together in your life. I have other things together in my life. Maybe we should trade notes sometime.
I mean, if you really want your mom to meet me, I mean, is there food?
Yeah, she always has something she can feed us, give us some tea.
Do you think maybe we should drop off the decaying head before we go see your mother?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I mean,
Yeah.
you do kind of get used to the smell.
I've completely forgotten.
I mean, we could take it to see your mom and be like, see, it's dangerous, but Gordon kills them.
Well, if you don't want to stay long, that's one way to do it, for sure. But no, let's drop this off first and get our pay.
All right. So I assume we would head back to the council members, which is Vadith.
Well, you can go to her
took
house.
notes.
You can go to her house. There is a town hall where the council convenes, and typically is where you would get the payouts.
All right, so
and
we
it's
can go to the
impossible to
town hall.
miss. It is the largest structure, single room structure in Seven Raven. Looks like a large kind of like it almost looks like a large chapel. The way it's built, it's made out of stone at the base. It has a nice thatched roof. And it does have some bulletin boards out front, which are kept up and constantly sanded and kept fresh, despite their exposure to the elements, where people can post their parchments of like selling this, need help with this, willing to pay for this, that kind of thing. Just beyond the town square of Seven Raven. As you're all moving through this town square, by the way, you do see there are markers throughout the town that are mysterious and always have been when it comes to this town. The town itself is older than anyone can really remember, keeping in mind that a lot of the elves that actually make residence here came here during the Blood Mist, and many of them don't have direct memory of when Seven Raven was even built or who were the original creators of the town itself. The generations of humans that have lived here apparently had that knowledge, but a lot has been lost to time, particularly since the Blood Mist. I'm saying all of this because once again, on your trek towards the town hall, you're passing bizarre statues depicting beings that are either like statues that are sculpted on the side of stone buildings that are now for public use, like areas where the market is, where you see a lot of cattle being led into and whatnot. This place usually being where cattle is sold. You can see there are always like little gargoyle like sculptures and statues all over the place depicting strange mythological scenes. There's even the most well-known is the fountain that is in front of Seven Raven itself. Unfortunately, whatever this fountain was originally has long been eroded away due weather and time. So instead, what you see is a depiction of some sort of figure that was in some kind of pose. The only thing that's really recognizable from the figure itself is it looks like it was humanoid and is standing up from the water itself in a widened stance. But one of the arms is missing and the hand is missing on the other end. So whatever it was doing is impossible to tell. And the head itself has all but eroded away. And so it looks just sort of like a shapeless face. Arriving at the town hall is another reminder of how ancient and mysterious the foundations of this town are, because this town hall itself is like the rest of these strange spots, quite ancient looking, with moss grown up all over these big stone walls that surround the halls itself. When you move up the stone ramp past the bulletin board, the guards that are waiting flanking the doors just nod to you respectfully and say no more. The doors themselves are open to the Great Hall, and you can hear the goings-on of the town of Seven Raven inside, which is pretty typical for Seven Raven. Usually, on any given day, there's somebody inside barking about something that somebody else did and demanding justice, or somebody is in here trying to make an arrangement to buy or purchase land outside the town, or something like that is going on. When you enter, the two of you enter into the hall, people begin to immediately move aside, a few townsfolk like covering their noses and staring at you as you come walking with this sack just slung over your shoulder. You do see a few of the council people. Not all of them are here, and that too is not unusual. Usually, because the council consists of four people. Usually they rotate 2 by 2 so that they don't all have to be in attendance unless it's an official town meeting. You see up on sitting at the chairs, 2 of the chairs, you see one of them, Diozi. Diozi is a goblin. She is currently dressed in somewhat finery, like low nobility, kind of wearing some pretty fine clothes, that poofy sleeves and leather, like leggings and whatnot. Has her hair done in all sorts of like braids that are just sticking straight up at the top of her head. Silver piercings all around her nose and ears. She is currently, with a big grin, she's picking her teeth with a broken chicken bone, just kind of like digging in there, and just listening to someone talk to her with mild disinterest. Sitting next to her is Maddock, who is the only human on the council. Maddock is probably in his maybe mid-50s and looks like your standard like medieval styled councilman. He has a big thick beard with 2 like dark peppered streaks going through on either side. Has a bit of the bowl cut and is dressed again in finery with like a tunic that goes all the way down, wears very fine, has a necklace on, a couple of rings on his hands, and a ceremonial dagger at his side. And he's listening with just sort of this like, he's trying to pay attention to the couple that is talking to him. But you can tell just from his expression, without having to roll an insight check, he is going through the motions right now. And he's just going, of course, yes. Naturally, yes.
So Sam, I'm looking at Sam's name on the overlay. Great. Okay. So Sylvain kind of nudges Gordon with her elbow and has Gordon walk with her until they are very uncomfortably close behind this couple.
The woman is in the middle of complaining. You can hear her saying, "That's when we knew it must be witchcraft, because the milk was sour before the next morning."
And this is this is the kind of decay you can probably taste in your mouth. So I'm just waiting for her to keep talking.
Mm-hmm. And she goes, "And that's how we knew it must be sorcery, because we just bought that cow and she was oh God." And she looks at her husband, and her husband looks back at her like, and then he just kind of, oh God. Everyone starts to turn and look. And then the two of them part in like a sea. Everybody in the hall parts away, and you all quickly become the center of the dance floor. You see Maddock, he just covers his nose like this and stares at you. This kind of incredulous look on his face. However, the goblin, Dozy just looks at you. She just kind of keeps picking. There can be only one goblin, apparently. Dozy doesn't do anything. She just keeps picking her teeth. She pauses for a minute, and you can see her nostrils twitching. And then she just goes back to picking her teeth, completely unconcerned with the stench that's in the room.
So Sylvain would kind of give Gordon like a little chin thing to take the head out of the bag. Just toss it on the floor.
I get the bag from its place where it was slung over my shoulder. It hits the floor with a loud thump.
And probably a
maybe
little bit of a
some-
squelching noise. at this
Exactly.
point.
You totally. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
exactly it.
Mhm.
Open the sack and pull out the head of the manticore for all to see.
Okay, so again, this head was quite large. So Gordon, what happens? Unfortunately, content warning: as you pull this thing out,
Degloving.
it's reached that stage of nastiness where the skin is loose,
I just thought about that.
and there's a nasty noise as you pull this thing out. There's a part
Oh.
of you, Gordon, that wonders how much of it is going to there's a split second where you're wondering if this thing's face is just going to slide right off as you just heft it up by its hair and toss it. Just goes again. I want to tell you, it's a manticore's head, so the head itself it's considerably larger than the typical face, we'll just say. As it
Probably
hits
should have thought
the
of that.
platform and just comes to a stop, its eyes lulled into the back of its head, a long forked tongue just splats out onto there's this general gasp, and you see Maddox just, ugh.
So we found your problem.
And delivered a new one, apparently, dropping this in here.
Well, I mean, we have to show you that we did something so that we can get something.
Yes,
Then I'm sure we can remove it.
it's fine. Please. Guard comes up. The look on the guard's face is just it's just like, I don't get fucking paid enough for this, as he just goes over and goes, oh god, picks it up, and one of the other guards helps him, and the two of them just very quickly leave the room with it. The goblin just sits there still picking at the teeth, doesn't say a word.
Sylvain may or may not have, whispered to them as they picked it up, don't get any of it on you. It's acid.
That does
you
cause
might want
alarm
to
for the
transport it
gullible
in
guard.
this sack.
Hmm.
I'm
Here
sorry,
you go.
Gordon, what was that? Repeat
Oh,
that.
I was just saying to the guard, you might want to transport it in this sack. Here you go. Just put it right back in there. There you go, mate. Yeah.
Y'all
The rest
fumble
of it's
around
in
with
there,
this.
probably.
You fumble around with the severed, decayed head of the manticore before the guards are finally taking it away. When it's finally left, Maddox just nods. You see this woman, probably in about her 30s, dark brown skin, black hair, tied up behind her. She nods to Maddox. She stands up and grabs a book, and does a couple of scribbles, then moves over, and carrying a sack of coins, approaches all of you and says, "For your service," and offers you the reward for the manticore.
Thank you kindly, ma'am. It's a
That
pleasure
is-
doing business with you all.
Mark it
Gordon says
down.
this to the whole room.
You all gain 6 silver and 1 gold.
All right.
So well paid on that. Very well paid.
Dope.
What is that look on your face, Kelly? You're muted, but whatever it is, it sounds.
No, my husband just snuck in and handed me sangria.
I thought that must have been what was going on. You're like, since we're
Aw.
describing the rotting flesh of a manticore, I could use a glass of wine. All right.
Macerated fruit, perfect for this conversation.
Business
I assume that's a
concluded.
lot of money for this.
Yeah, 1 gold. 1 gold is a lot of money in Forbidden Lands. Silver can get you quite a bit. A gold is 10 silver, and 1 gold piece could probably feed a family of 3 for a year.
Incredible.
So it's good pay. Keeping in mind that this is going to be divided amongst the mist stalkers, and then it also has to go to maintenance of the perch and so on and so forth. This is about what you guys needed.
Okay.
Would there be
Gordon,
anything else?
Yes, just that for everyone here in attendance, the Miststalkers had a terrible misfortune over the past few days, and I'm sure you all have heard or seen the aftermath of that. Just want you to know we will be taking care of it, and we will be protecting this town as we always have. Nothing to fear. Sylvain, you got anything for them?
No. I think that sums it up.
Yeah, Let us know if there are any other strange sightings or strange monsters chopping people's heads off, things like that. We'll take care of them.
Rush
right, good
Brothers.
day.
Rush Brothers?
Who said
Excuse
that?
me?
Who said that?
The goblin council, the council goblin Diozi. She's just picking at her teeth. Rush Brothers? Saw them come through town, I did. Saw them with my own eyes.
You saw them.
And you
Walking
did
through-
so much about it.
Where'd you see
walking-
them, my
They
lady,
walk through
council lady?
town. Keep your mouth shut. Let me speak. I'm trying to tell you right now. Saw them walking through town, I did. With my own eyes. Walked right through Seven Raven like they own the place. Strode right towards your keep. There were 4 of them. By themselves until they got to the other gate. Then I saw one of you join them.
Not one of us.
Not one of us. For everyone listening, not one of us. That is a
It's
former.
good that you say that, Gordon, because as you're saying this, there's murmurs going throughout the entire town hall at this point, looking at you all kind of questioningly.
That member we have officially and unofficially in every way not he's no longer part of us, and he had defected before this happened. But please do go on, lady, madam, council lady.
He will no longer be part of the living very soon.
That also causes some murmurs. Maddox at this point speaks up and says, "What exactly has happened at your keep in the perch? There were signs of violence, but no one dared go near. The Ross brothers have a fearsome reputation. We don't wish to have any trouble with them if we don't have to."
No, you don't wish to have any trouble with them. And Gordon would probably recognize the signs of Sylvain about to say something that maybe she shouldn't. And she's going to keep going. Oh yes, signs of violence. So you didn't want to get involved. No, it's just that, people attacking the rest of us who take all the risks for you, right?
There's some
But you
looks at
don't
each
want to get
other.
involved.
Diozi finally
Sylvain makes a
Diozi
really good
pipes up.
point. Mhm.
Diozi pipes up to answer you, Sylvain. She goes, "Right," and nods rather emphatically.
Well, thanks to all of you and your ingrained cowardice. Tylus is dead.
That causes a lot of murmurs. People alarmed and surprised. There's a couple of gasps. And
Yes, the people that you casually observed walking through town beat him, tied him up, and burned him alive. So I'm really glad that you chose not to get involved. And she turns and walks out of the hall.
okay, you leave them speechless.
I just want to say one more thing to underline what my compatriot just said. She makes fair points here, and if this is an open town hall right now, I'd like to just offer an item for us to think about security besides just us, because we can't be everywhere all the time. And guess what? Sometimes we need backup too. And if those Russ brothers had been interrogated, or someone had questioned their presence here, maybe it could have slowed things down. We could have gotten there back in time. So yes. And then Gordon just awkwardly ends this speech, and
Gordon, you pivot and begin to follow. You see Sylvain's silhouette in the doorway as she has moved outside the hall, and you just follow after her. And there's murmurs, but no one says anything as the two of you basically command the room until you both are out of the room. Stepping back out into the streets.
I don't understand why nobody ever wants me to do any of the council business. I am very diplomatic.
I agree. I think you stated very well what you thought, and I agree with you.
I know you do.
You should run for council.
Oh, hell no.
Well, why not?
I think I would rather have to eat that manticore head than deal with a bunch of stuffed shirt assholes.
You mean eat it today or eat it 3 days ago when it was fresh? Because when it was fresh, I tell you, I kind of thought about it, like having a little taste of it,
I
'Cause, like,
mean,
what other
I
chance do you
think
get to have
for me,
magical?
it was a bit too uncanny valley because it was like a human face. It would have been a little close to cannibalism. I imagine we're having this conversation loudly as we walk back to Gordon's mom's house. You know, I mean, I would maybe be worried. Maybe it's like a shark. Maybe you have to like soak it in milk or something for like 24 hours before you eat it.
Yeah, that's a good point about the head, but what about the tail? You think if you can like just carve the meat out of those away from those venom sacs and get a nice good chunk and just like grill that up, I think that
What
could
if
taste
you-
really nice.
Oh, but what if you also could like take little bits of the venom until you were immune to it?
Like a little ghost pepper, like just use a little bit and it goes a long way.
Bit, yeah, and just build up a resistance to it over time. You know, in case you ever needed to use it on somebody.
Yeah. We should
Then
ask
it wouldn't matter
Phaedra.
if you poisoned your cup or their cup because you would have a resistance to it.
Yeah. We should ask
I'm
Phaedra
brilliant.
if we can just take a little sample and
I just picture I picture this conversation happening as like the camera is kind of like positioned on the ground as we're just watching the two of them walk into the crowd, just constantly going back and forth, getting looks from everyone around you who is just people like in the middle of calling out to other people, just stopping and moving aside as you're all continuing this conversation. Plus, Gordon, you got a little dead manticore on you. It stinks a little bit. All right.
Oh, I'm sure I stink so bad. Gonna take
no, I just thought of
Geralt level
something.
bath later.
Was Mason in the hall?
Oh.
Mason? No, he was not in that hall.
That was going to say
Okay.
that was not how I
Mason is
wanted to
probably
tell him
still
about
at-
Tylus.
Yeah, no, Mason's. It's probably safe to say that Mason is at his tavern.
Do we pass by the tavern on the way back to Gordon's mom's, or
Mason's tavern is on the main strip where pretty much
Alright.
everybody moves through to the marketplace. Yeah,
you
the tavern. By
as-
the way, as a
yeah.
reminder, the tavern is called the Knight and Bard.
as they walk by, Sylvain kind of pauses and says, "You know what? I kind of want to get this over with, because if I get this over with, your mom will probably be like a breath of fresh air, honestly."
Yeah. Let's go.
All right.
Tell them what happened.
So y'all make the very difficult left turn at Albuquerque. You decide to head over to the tavern instead of going straight to Gordon's mom's place. And as y'all are approaching the outside of the tavern, not knowing what you can expect when you deliver bad news, the two of you step inside. We're going to cut back to the underbelly of the Perch, where the doors to the study have creaked open, and stumbling into the room are Jakob and Gim, who both look a little nervous and reluctant to be in here, Daedry, judging from the looks on their face the moment you spot them. This dark, dank place where you do all of your bizarre experiments and study sorcery. You do note, however, Jakob seems to be holding a book. Gim just kind of... Jakob's idea. No, the book, giving you the book was my idea. Bringing it to you like this was Jakob.
But finding the book was my idea, kind of.
That's true.
Yeah, so we worked as a team, and could you help us drive this out so we could read it?
Daedry is, they have braided into an updo now to get the rest of the system out of the way. They have a smock, and they have what approximate protective gloves. They are doing the opposite of getting manticore all over their proverbial fur. And they indeed are at least half a forearm up into the extraction of a fairly delicate gland, and their dominant arm just gets so close to that spike repeatedly. But they seem unconcerned as they are sort of muttering a little bit while you're talking, Jakob, like they have something that they need to finish, and they say, by your wing and your feather and your beak, I meant, yes, hand it over.
Oh, okay. And they pass the very damp notebook.
Don't touch that. Don't touch that. Right there.
Oh.
Be careful.
Oh.
Curiously enough, as you do get close, Jakob, you see that Phaedry, in the middle of extracting this poison gland from inside this bulbous end of the tail, clearly hits a nerve cluster, because you see the tail just kind of twitch a little bit, and flex and relax a little bit. There's the book.
Reaction. Don't worry. Don't be afraid.
It's too late. I'm terrified.
All right.
Well, you live to fear, and the Manticore does not.
And look who's dead!
Showed you.
You
Right.
saved the body part laying on the table in front of you.
Could you open the book? I don't know that I want to scrub out right now.
Okay, yes, I can do that. Just one moment. Okay, here you are.
Flipping it open.
Spectacles.
Phaedry, you see, thinking ahead, Gim moves over and grabs one of the oil lamps off the wall and comes over and sets it down on the table,
Yes.
giving you even more light. And I'm going to have you make an insight check here.
All right.
Roll insight. See what you can gain from this.
It would be profoundly ill-advised for me to push, given the number of banes I just rolled. So we're going to go with the 1 success here.
One success.
Yes.
Thankfully, that's all you needed.
All right.
Typically, all you ever need in Forbidden Lands, which is good because the dice system can get really unforgiving sometimes.
Unforgiven Lands.
Unforgiven Lands. Phaedry, you glance at it for a second, and you, Jakob, you and Gim both watch Phaedry as they lean in, kind of squint and look at something. You can see the expression on their face change. Phaedry, this is not Hylas's writing. This is some other book. You start scanning through it. It's a book of legends of the surrounding area. You can see there's all kinds of writings in here. Some of it's monster lore. You can see that as Jakob is kind of following your instruction and moving the pages so you can get a better look. Some of it's monster lore. You can see some diagrams of monster anatomy. You see an entire pretty well sketched out section where it looks like someone has done a very clinical autopsy on a griffin, managing where the head meets the lion's body and stuff like that, making notes of like known tactics that griffins use when swooping upon their prey, whether or not they are innately hostile or if it is a common, like, are they native to Ravenland, things like that. But you also, as you continue flipping through, you also see there's more here. There's more about Seven Ravens specifically. Some of it talking about, from what you can read, something about the significance of the seven ravens that can be found within town, which is the first you've ever heard of such a thing. There's also a something here about its importance, and then you see your blood turning slightly cold as you start seeing the name Zygopher being mentioned in the text. You see mention of a thing called Shadowgate Pass. There's also some theory in here about demonology. The last entries on this are notes that Tylus has made. And they don't look any significant, but you do see Tylus has written a few notes specifically referencing the Rust Brotherhood. A lot of it has been smudged from the water, but the Brotherhood of Rust is specifically mentioned in some of his handwriting. You can see in the last few pages. You do make out at the very end, the one word that does not seem smudged looks like it says connected ?
All right. That
Well?
answers one question, if not the other.
Phaedry, go ahead and add this to, you don't have to put it in your inventory if you don't want to, but you essentially right now, you have a lore book of beasts of the Forbidden Lands. So this is going to give you a D10 artifact die on lore checks when you research monsters here in the Forbidden Lands.
Would you all suffer me to put it in my inventory, please?
This
all
is like
you.
this is a pretty significant book. And you're starting to get an idea that however Tylus came into this book, the possession of this book might have been one of the things that inspired him to create the Miststalkers in the first place.
Huh.
This is quite the manual for monster hunters, but moreover, the marginalia are particularly of interest. We know Merrick interacted with a hooded figure who was in league with the Manticore, the demon. And here, I point with my elbow, Tylus makes the connection between the Rust Brotherhood.
Wait, what does that mean? The Rust Brotherhood's connected to demons?
Yeah, or to manticores?
It's strongly suggestive unless we want to assert that Merrick had triple loyalties to us, to the Rust Brotherhood, and to some further. Parsimony would have it that he was but a single traitor, and that perhaps the Rust Brotherhood does have this kind of connection. I'm going to start scrubbing out, like, this is interesting enough, and I've gotten to enough of a stopping point in this extraction.
Gim just folds his arms as he's... So I got a question. Are they called the Brotherhood of Rust or the Rust Brotherhood? Like, I've heard it two ways now. Which one is it? Is it I guess Brotherhood of Rust technically sounds more
fancy.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Mhm.
I would think.
It varies language to language as well. In Elvish, the idiom would be to do the Rustic Brotherhood.
Rustic Brotherhood.
It isn't even truly the meaning, obviously, but the translation got ingrained.
I don't know that much about them, though. Only that they're a bunch of, well, not very nice people, obviously.
Yeah.
That's putting it mildly.
I know that they worship the god Rust, but I've never truly understood. I just don't know humans and their strange takes on religion. I've never understood it. I can tell you right now that before humans came to Ravenland, there was no record of any god named Rust. That is completely a human thing that came here. We never existed here before. We worshipped Raven, and we worshipped the goddess of rivers and the dwarven gods and so on and so forth. We never had anything like that.
So they are a new god. Okay.
Yes and no. There's been a touch of syncretism. To hear them tell it, Raven, Rust, Worm, they're all different aspects, only they don't worship in quite the same way. It does explain their particular hatred of the Raven sisters.
The Raven sisters, I've heard of them. They're not like the Brotherhood of Rust, though, right?
I should hope not. I would have been raised quite criminally if so.
It almost flies right past Gim, but he catches it and goes, "Oh, right," and lets that go. Just nods. Right.
Gim, I am learning as well. It's quite good.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? He looks at you kind of like, I feel like, we're proper
Really thinking
investigators.
about them.
But
Yeah.
what this evidence illustrates above all, skating past the particulars of my biography, is that indeed going after the Rust Brotherhood and Merrick is Miststalker business. If they are in league with monsters, and we have multiple reasons now to suspect that they are, it is not merely a human quest for vengeance, nor humanoid, but rather part of our core mission.
Yeah. Deidre, Jacob, just want to point out the Rust Brotherhood, they what I do know about them is there's a lot of them. It's a whole religious fanatical order. Like,
Mhm.
that's just very dangerous. What you're saying is, I mean, I'm not opposed. I want to do something, obviously, about what happened, but talking about going after the Brotherhood of Rust, that's big. That's real big. I mean, there was only 4 of them. I just know a lot of the histories of Ravenland is just soaked in blood because of them.
And there will be more if they're making deals with demons. I don't aim to hunt down every brother of Rust, but those 4, Merrick, they can give us answers and justice, though I don't think they'll come by the latter willingly. And Phaedra finishes taking off their smock, hands it up, and we need to start getting dinner simmering.
I'll go get started on that. And
I'll
Gim
join
nods to the 2 of you as he quickly makes his way out of the room.
Tylus was an idealist, but he was a good cook.
Having to do without is already a struggle. Gordon said they were going to hunt. I guess that's something I'm going to do. All I can trap are bunnies and squirrels.
Anything goes into the stew. And it would be good to have some rations for the road as well.
Okay, 2 bunnies.
You're too generous. I'm glad you're here.
Merci.
It's okay.
Sylvain, Gordon, you watch as Mason slowly sets down the 3rd shot and places it on the table. He's been quiet since you told him 5 minutes ago. The tavern is largely empty right now. Doesn't usually get busy until about mid to late afternoon. So right now it's just him and the half-elven boy who helps him care for the place, as well as the cooks in the back. He is gazing off across the other side of the room. You can see he's doing that thing where he's clenching his jaw repeatedly. For anybody who knows Mason, it's one of those things where if he's got a lot on his mind or something he wants to say and he's not saying it, he typically does this. To give you an idea of what Mason looks like, if you can, for those of you watching at home, can picture it, Mason looks very similar to Quint from Jaws. He is a man in his 60s. He's got a little bit of a mustache, a bit of a crooked smile to his face that he has even when he's at rest. He has the same sort of build, the same sort of demeanor, that sort of blue collar, badass, like takes no bullshit from anybody demeanor, leaning up against the bar. But right now you're seeing a man who looks and usually acts like he's carved out of stone, fighting back some emotion as he's rubbing his face and just. You said it was the Ross Brotherhood, was it? Is that what you said?
Yeah. I know that things hadn't been exactly cordial between the 2 of you, but I know that at one point there was quite a lot of love. And we were wondering maybe if you knew if there was anything in his past that might have put a target on his back.
There's plenty of things.
I mean, for the Rust Brotherhood specifically, I mean, him talking to you sometimes could put a target on his back. I mean, let's be honest.
He grabs the bottle and he pours a 4th shot and he pushes it towards you guys. And pushes the rest of the bottle away. Just, you know, when I met Tylus, I was about It was about 14 years ago now. He was worse back then than he was present day. More idealistic, more of a pig-headed bastard than anything else. But he had an open heart back then. Wasn't quite so willing to push people away to protect them as he might have told. Truth is Tylus was a man who didn't want to have much.
Because he didn't want much to lose.
It's a tired cliche, isn't it? He looks at you with, again, a bit of emotion in his eyes.
Yeah, she picks up the shot. She's like, yeah, no, that's such a ridiculous thing, and just knocks back the shot.
He did everything he could to sabotage every good thing he ever had. He did a particularly good job with me. God damn it. What could he have said to the Rustic Brotherhood to have gained their ire? I don't know. You don't have to say much to those bastards to get their ire. Their whole history is saturated in religious persecution and murdering anyone who doesn't take a knee to their god. Hell, half of the human history in here in Ravenland, all the suffering your people have gone through, suffering my people were fleeing when they crossed over the mountains, all the Brotherhood of Rusts waiting for him over here, slaughtering everyone who doesn't believe in their vision of Raven. My best guess, old Tylus probably said something to him that was right. They didn't like it. He didn't talk much to me. Hadn't spoken a word to me in years. And now I never get to speak to him again. Probably the way he wants it. I'll tell you this much, Sylvain. If the Brotherhood of Rust wanted him dead, it's because he was guilty of being a good man. That's fine reason to hunt these bastards down and skin them alive.
It's another one to add to my list, yes.
Let me ask you this, though.
Hmm.
You said Marek, one of you, led these men into your courtyard, stabbed him in the back, betrayed you.
That is going to be dealt with. Trust me.
I might know where you could start looking.
Really?
I run a tavern. There's a lot of things that happen. A lot of news that comes through here. And ever since Seven Raven opened its doors, since the blood mist lifted, I get a lot of news coming through this place. People don't just ignore the fact the Ross Brotherhood comes walking through your town like they own the place and then leave. There's been some whispers. There's a man that comes in here. He's been frequenting the tavern in the evenings. I'd say talk to him. He'll probably be here tonight. He's a hunter, a tracker. Good at living on the land. He's said a few things I've overheard about seeing some things. I've heard him mention the name Rust before. Might start with him. He'll be here tonight. He's been here every night of the week. He brings his kills in here, usually sells it to the kitchen.
Right, well, we'd probably want to have the rest of our merry band of adventurers with us for that one. But I do appreciate the heads up.
His hand suddenly just reaches out and snatches your hand, holds it tightly for a second, looks you in the eyes, says, Sylvain, you kill these bastards for me. You promised me. You'll find them and you'll kill them.
Oh, absolutely. Eventually. And she just pats his hand.
He slowly slides back and he reaches for that bottle again and he pours that shot glass.
So she'll stand up so that, she can kind of leave him to, she and Gordon can leave him to his particular brand of mourning. And as she walks by, she kind of puts her hand on his shoulder and says, I heard you two fight a few times. Heard you both say how much you hated each other. But I think there's something you should remember when you're thinking about him. Hate is just love with its back turned. And she just kind of squeezes his shoulder and walks out the bar.
Gordon, as you follow Sylvain out, the last thing you hear of Mason is he's sliding the bottle away from himself and he says, Here, boy, watch the bar for a moment. And he wraps a towel around his head and just uses that to hang his hands as he, shoulders shaking, walks to the opposite end and vanishes into a room where the door closes behind him. And the two of you head back, or are you going to visit your mom, Gordon?
Oh, yeah, gotta stop in on me, Mom.
Sure, I've just been drinking. This is going to be great.
Mm-hmm. It's better that way. Actually, she's really good at getting the truth out of people, and so now that we're a few shots in, it should be really interesting for all of us.
I'm really good at making up lies, but making people think they're truth.
I'm interested to see what's about to happen.
This image is just Gordon and Sylvain with their arms on each other's shoulders at this point, walking towards Gordon's mom's house.
When the door opens, so first of all, it's already unusual. Wolfkin typically do not like to live within city limits of any damn thing. Wolfkin always prefer living kind of out amongst the wilderness. Seven Raven, again, being a place that is quite unique to the rest of the Forbidden Lands. You find yourself, Sylvain, just like, what are you gonna see? you are familiar with Gordon's mom, but it's always a crapshoot when you visit this Wolfkin. When the door opens, you see a Wolfkin that is about half the size of Gordon. She's about 5'5", 5'6". Her fur has grayed considerably from the jet black to like this like tufts of gray. And she does have like a shock of hair that goes straight up and it's been tied back. It has been like pulled into like these almost like thick dread style like hairdo where it's just like pulled back into a nice tight knot. She is wearing what looks like just a strip of leather over the top of her chest, just covering just what needs to be covered. But beyond that, and is just wearing like a skirt. When she answers the door, she is cleaning what looks like a large, nasty looking sickle. She's just like rubbing a cloth down it. And she opens the door and it just swings wide and she goes, Come on in. Come on in. Gordy, bringing your friends around again.
Hello, Mom. You remember Sylvain, maybe?
I don't have to stay if you don't want me to.
Is that who that is there?
Yeah.
The Wolfkin leans forward, and when she squints, you can see that most of her teeth are missing on the right side of her mouth. So, like, she has this great, nice, like, sharp snaggletooth kind of effect as she glances over at you, Sylvain, and goes, Oh, yeah, the smart ass. I remember you. You're one of my favorites. Come in. Do come in.
Okay.
Gordy, are you hungry, Gordy? I've got some
Yes.
food.
Yes,
I've
Mum.
got some
Always
food. Why don't
hungry.
you all sit down at the table?
very
and I'll
hungry.
get you some meat. Yes, well, sit down at the table. I've got some meat for everyone. Hold on, hold on. She just slams this sickle with a shocking amount of force into this wooden plank and just sticks there. Sylvain, you know, Gordon comes from a long line of people that wield steel. It is a long line of hunters and warriors. It's always been kind of a toss-up which one she was, but you've always gotten the impression maybe kind of all of it. She moves over and she's stirring this pot, and you see her empty out this fluid into the just outside the window of this kitchen, just dumping it out. And when she stops, she goes, "There we go, nice and marinated. Gordy, do you want a large slice as usual?"
Yes, Mum. Yes, please.
And you see this chunk of meat emerge from this pot that's been saturating. It looks like a rack of ribs that she just lays down in front of Gordon. No plate, just right across the table. And Sylvain, she pulls out a couple of ribs and goes, "There you are, you little half-elf, you." No, I'll play with you.
So Sylvain leans over to Gordon. She's like, Gordon.
Yeah. What? Gordon
think
is
I'm-
already just.
I think I'm in love with your mother.
She
Why are you laughing?
Because you didn't want to even come here. You were going to sit in the dirt in the street.
That's correct. I am now very happy I came here and just chomp.
Yeah, she, as you're eating, she just starts petting the side of Gordon's large bicep, and she's like, "That's my big boy. You eat that up, you'll be nice and strong as always. Fight to the end of your days." Gordy, what happened up at the perch? I heard that there was some fighting up there. Were you up there?
No, Mum. We got there after everything had happened. Gordon sets down his ribs. Our good friend and mentor, Tylus. He's gone, Mum.
Oh, Tyler's died. Oh, that's a shame. That's a shame. But
Yeah.
Tyler seemed like a decent human. Probably running, hunting in the great fields, having a decent afterlife, I'm sure. Lived with good friends, nothing to be worried about. Pats you on the shoulder. I'm sure he's doing just fine now, especially because you're all well taken care of. What are your plans now, Gordy? Sylvain, would you like something to drink?
I would love something to drink.
Gordy, drink. Would
Yes.
you like a drink?
Yes,
Sylvain
please,
is
Mum.
looking at Gordon's mom with just unabashed adoration.
She pours what smells like some kind of boiling alcohol. You're not sure what it is, but it's got a bit of a tart scent to it.
It's hot and it's alcohol. Those are two
Slides it over
things that
to
are
you.
delicious.
Ooh,
She
sorrel. You made some fresh sorrel, Mum.
always have it on hand just in case you stop by, my boy. So,
It's a flower, and my mum ferments it for a long time and then boils it, and it turns to liquor.
fun fact for you here, Sylvain. She leans forward with you as she kind of like her eye twitches a little bit as she looks at you, and the wolfkin just says, "Only wolfkin saliva can ferment that particular flower in the ways to make such alcohol."
Well, then aren't I lucky?
Drink up, drink up.
And she will chug the entire, tip
It's
up.
thick, warm, and quite good. It has a
Yep.
nice tart sensation to it. And the three of you sit there at the table. I'm going to go ahead and say, because you have entered into a homestead here and you're receiving a hot meal along with drink and you're with family, the two of you are going to gain a willpower point. As some of the cares and worries and stress of the past 24 hours just become a little more muted. And here in the presence of Gordon's mom, this ancient wolfkin who stands all of 5'5" and has probably seen numerous battles all of her life and is just adoring her massive son that's sitting across from her at the table, the three of you managed to just chit chat and find some peace as you have this meal. We're going to pause right there, speaking of meals, and just go on our quick 10-minute break. So we'll be back in 10 minutes, y'all. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you soon. Welcome back to the Forbidden Lands, and welcome back to Seven Raven. We're going to get back into our story now. We're in chapter 3, and right now, from the gates, looking out from the courtyard, you would be able to see, anybody who would be there, would be able to see the forms of Gordon and Sylvain returning after early morning, early
Work
afternoon.
lunch.
Yes.
Work.
Full bellies and a nice buzz going for you, Gordon, but probably maybe a buzz going. And Sylvain, you can tell me where Sylvain's at.
Sylvain is at that point where the lips and tongue are just very slightly going numb.
Nah, yes.
But has not quite reached the point where they sit down and question life in general.
Oh man, I've had that experience so many times.
Me too.
Yeah, SCA events all the time. Wandering from campsite to campsite, asking permission to come in, and when you get there, they're like, "Have some of our homemade beer." And then, anyway, all right. So the two of you enter the main courtyard of the Perch. By the time you get to the main hall, after walking up the stone ramp that leads into the Perch itself, the smell of fresh cooked food hits your nostrils immediately, and it's completely unappetizing, as the two of you have been stuffed from good home cooking at Gordon's mother's house. It doesn't smell anywhere near as good as the cooking of your mother, Gordon, but it does smell like food. It is cooking in a large pot. You can also hear the sizzling sounds of slices of meat on a cooking stove. That is not in the main hall where Tylus typically like to cook the food. It is, in fact, in the back kitchens area where the food should have been prepared. That much you can tell as the scent is drifting out into the main hall. In the center of the hall, though, the table that had once been overturned has been put back where it belongs. The stools and whatnot have been reassembled and put back to where they belong. Most of the stuff that around here that looked like the struggle that took place in here, most of the things that have been overturned or damaged have been repaired or removed. Easy enough. And sitting at the table are three companions. You see Gim, Thaedry, and Jakob having a tense conversation with a book sitting in front of Thaedry, whose hand is resting on it rather protectively as they're having a very intense conversation. All three heads turn and look at the two of you as you enter into the main hall. And Gim just looks at the both of you and goes, "What happened to you two?"
Gordon's mom.
Yeah.
Is there a story you can tell?
Gordon can tell a story. I'm going to take a bath.
That's what I was going to do. We smell of manticore. If you
We
haven't
do.
noticed.
Sludge. Manticore sludge.
Yeah. Oh,
We got
by the way-
paid.
Oh,
Good.
yeah, we got paid. And Thaedry, if you have a little bit of that venom, you could just spare us. We have an idea we want to experiment with.
It's such a good idea.
It's a really good idea.
Such a good idea.
Sidebar, Manticore Sludge. Excellent band name. I need to write these down. We have lost so many to the ether.
I will write it for you.
Technically, a bunch of them are on VOD. We would just
That's
have
true.
to
That's
just
true.
have to really scrub for it.
Yeah, it's a scrub the bots.
And indeed, Thaedry scrubs at their ears. Could have sworn they said that Sylvain said she was going to intentionally and of her own volition take a bath. But they shockingly withhold volunteering venom to the drunk people.
Okay, but we're going to revisit this. It's important.
We'll really have to talk quite much more about
Gordon
the
and I are
structure.
frontline fighters. It's very important that we are resistant to things.
It is also important that we have done a lot of work and we have a plan, and if you could just join us, we could perhaps begin something.
My ideas are never listened to when we're planning things anyway. I'm going to take a bath.
Okay.
She starts wandering down the ramp.
Okay, you start heading down to the springs.
Yeah, to the hot
Underneath the
springs.
perch.
Yeah.
I'd really like to take a bath too.
Okay.
Can we have a planning meeting after?
Well, we can. Yes, absolutely.
That seems like it's best. Perhaps.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to
go
be
on.
around me stinking like this.
I have these nose plugs. They work very well. It's like 2 pieces of dirty cloth that I've stuffed at my nose. Gim as the same.
Gim's looking at you, his head cocked to the side, just now realizing you've not taken them out.
No.
This whole time, they're just jutting out of your nostrils. Can you just kind of...
Excellent.
Good gift.
Smart.
Very good gift.
All right then.
Well,
Enjoy
that was fun.
that.
And I'm off. And I head out
Okay.
to take a bath.
Gordon, when you reach the hot springs,
We have hot
it looks like
springs?
Sylvain got about halfway through undressing before she decided to get into the water. She,
Accurate.
yeah, kind of like, and when you get down there, she is half clothed, half submerged, and slumped onto like one of the rocks, and just kind of like, oh, you're muted.
Muted.
I said she still has like the cloth undershirt on
Mhm.
and like probably her socks.
Okay.
Oh.
It is
But,
nice.
yeah.
Sylvain. It is nice. It's just like the water's being good to you right now. It is exactly what
So
you
nice.
wanted.
And she's like, she's doing the thing where she just like slowly slips under the water so that like your ears fill up with water and it just
Yeah.
sounds like,
Bloop, bloop, bloop.
Mhm.
Of course, the springs underneath. So curiously enough, this part why don't we do this just as a quick reminder to everybody watching at home? If we could please bring up the map. What you'll see is Seven Raven is next to Lake Clay. Here at the perch, there's actually an undercropping of water that has been drawn into the perch itself. And maybe because of the proximity, it's hard to say. The perch, Seven Raven, it's all near a mountain range, not too far, but there has been a lot of, we'll just say, you can also see there are swamps here to the west. Seven Raven is pretty unique in that there are actually hot springs that can be found around the town in random places. It's a very unusual feature of the landscape, and whoever built the perch ages ago was really smart, because one of the nice things about the perch is the fact that at the lower levels, just past all of the creepy, smelly workshops, there is in fact a small cavern that has an open place lit by torches and a very wide natural formation of sort of like a warm hot spring salt bath that exists down here.
That's the
And
good stuff.
Sylvain is living it up.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Gordon, seeing Sylvain, are your eyes closed?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Gordon, surprisingly, is a little shy and just kind of checks and then still turns around and disrobes and then gets in the water
Okay.
and just sinks down into it, just soaking it up. Oh, that's just right. Yeah.
Yeah, you hear because Sylvain can't hear how loud she is at the moment. She just loudly goes, "Why are my socks wet?"
Because you didn't take them off, I think.
So it's fine. They needed to be washed anyway.
There's a quiet, unwilling lifeguard on the very, very far corner of the room, inconspicuously with the book that they're paying attention to.
We could have our planning meeting down here and then we save time, Gordon.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
What are we planning? Where are we going? Where are we going? Do you know anything about where we're going? Where did they go?
Oh, well, first of all, we got to go see that person, that hunter tracker. that Mesa told us about, who's a regular at the tavern.
Mm.
But otherwise, maybe we can just kind of compare notes and see what we have on these rust fellows.
Did you get anything when we got home?
Did I get anything when we got home?
Get anything?
As
Yeah.
in, like, meaning.
Like-
Sylvain is asking if Gordon picked up anything when we
Yeah,
got
like-
back. Yeah.
When we
Makes sense.
arrived on the scene,
I'm sorry, what do you mean? The scene of
the crime. So when we got back, and we saw what happened to Tylus.
Tylus.
Oh, I'm sorry. When you said get back home, I thought you meant just now. And I was like,
Yeah, I
oh,
know.
no,
I'm
you're
not
drunk.
very clear what I meant.
I'm like, you pretty much came straight home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't we do this? Gordon, because you did make it a point to investigate the entire like first floor of the keep where the struggle was happening, looking for footprints or anything. Let's go ahead and do the survival check now to find out
Right.
if Gordon, in fact, discovered anything during his investigations of trying to figure this out.
Okay.
So go ahead and roll your survival.
All right. So that's 3 wits, 1 survival.
So that's 3 white dice, 1 red dice. I'm going to give you a bonus +1 because you've become very familiar with the scent of a certain
Okay.
trader.
Oh yeah, that's true. Okay. And
So
would
I'm gonna
that
give
be
you
a what color die?
it's a red die.
Oh,
Yeah,
red
anytime I
die.
give you a bonus die, it's always going to be red because red dice do not have banes on them.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Also, quick note, just as a quick reminder, you still have a story point that has been gifted to you by the community that you can
Oh.
use at any point in this game. So keep that in mind. And as a quick reminder, what that will do is
Reminder.
you can use it before or after your roll, but it lets you add a D10 artifact die to whatever you're trying to do, and it awards the entire party 1 willpower point.
Ooh.
Interesting.
Might be a good time to use it, depending on your role.
You don't have to use it now, but it's good to have the
Yeah.
reminder that is a thing.
We can use it. Oh yeah, it would have to be before the roll, right?
No, after. You
We
can
can
use
Oh,
it
you
after
said.
you start.
Oh, it can be
Either.
before or after.
If
Oh
it's a
well, let's see how
fancy
this.
roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
let's
can
see
you
how
can
this
spend
goes.
it in the after if you want to.
All right. Okay. So I have 5 die and I'm rolling them. I got 2 successes.
2 successes.
No banes.
Yes, Gordon, you don't know precisely where they have gone to, but you have a direction in where they headed out. You were able to track them outside of the keep, following them outside the front gates, because it looks like they came on horseback.
Hmm.
So it was
Okay.
easy enough to track some of the the hoof prints that you found. They moved off to the northeast last you saw.
Northeast.
So they
Okay.
rode away from Seven Raven. If we could bring up that map and I can show you guys specifically. So in this particular case, it looks like they probably rode off in this direction here. If you can see the cursor where I'm pointing.
Mhm.
So there is Whaler's Hold, which is down here, and then these mountains, which are largely unexplored to this day. Whaler's Hold is the remains of a city. No one is particularly sure or of what the history is there. There is a lot of lore to be found there, but no one ventures there.
Mhm. Okay. Okay, so Sylvain asked this question,
Mhm.
and I say, basically I just repeat what you just said.
Okay. Yeah.
They
Exposit.
yeah
Mhm.
yeah. I'll just say they went to the northeast. Yeah, and they're on horseback, so we know that much.
Swamps. Aren't there swamps northeast? Swamps.
Those are southwest. So these down here, these are the swamps. All these little
Okay.
spotted marks in the map. So this is the perch where you guys are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So according to Gordon, they moved into for tactical purposes. They moved into this hex in this direction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
was
But
the
it's been
last-
several days now, so they're probably much further.
It's true, but Gordon, with the successful roll, Gordon can burn willpower and track the scent.
Mm-hmm.
Heck yeah, Gordon can.
And remember, Gordon, if I remember correctly, your kin ability lets you track people per day based on how many willpower points you spend.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah. I get a +1 bonus. I'm sorry. It In addition to that, I get a +1 bonus to attacks against my prey per willpower spent.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm. So it's like you basically hunter's mark somebody based off their scent. Yep.
So, like, if we left tomorrow morning, you can follow them.
Yeah. But we need to maybe later tonight go back to the tavern, try to find that hunter tracker. Right?
Fine. And Sylvain ducks underwater.
Daedry, if you are down here, indeed, this is the first you're hearing of this.
Oh yes, there's so much information that Daedry doesn't have to metagame at all. It's very satisfying. It's just sort of looking at the book, looking up every few seconds. By the end, as Sylvain ducks under the water, the clothes by the edge of the hot springs are folded.
Ooh, swift vengeance indeed. If it's not the banisters, if it's not the tapestries, it's the clothes.
Did Jakob come down also?
No, he's upstairs composing music for Tylus.
Okay.
Or in Tylus'
nice.
honor.
That's very nice.
We know the town and we know the Knight and Bard. Does Jakob gig there?
Absolutely.
Tonight? Does Jakob gig there tonight?
Could Jakob gig there tonight?
I don't see why not. He's not like scheduled for tonight, nor does he know about any business going down there. But you know, a quick like, hey, why not play your music down at the tavern?
This, in fact, this is I would like to say, if we can, this is Daedry's thought process, having folded the clothes of Revanche, and going back up the stairs in order also to inform Jakob. Perhaps an idea. Perhaps a plan. Please don't let the two of them drown down there. It's fine.
This is a very good plan.
I mean, by the time, Sylvain does not drown. Sylvain will come back upstairs for meeting. She is using exactly what you think she's using for her towel. She's just like, wrapping it around her head. That kind of thing.
Naturally.
Do you know, I think that the place is haunted. My clothes are always folded.
Oh, that
and
is
she's looking
quite
very
enough.
Suspiciously around the hall.
Sit. Come here and sit. And they hold out the chair for her.
It's okay. You don't have to be mean about it.
And Daedry is going to grab a little oil vial from their pouch of mostly magical things.
Oh no.
And pour a little bit out onto their hand and start finger combing Sylvain's hair.
Ow.
With what seems like it's probably conditioner.
Oh, okay. Still ow.
They're not a monster.
At this point, Gim pipes up and just says, just quick question. Have we discussed the book yet? And points at the book that's on the table still.
No, we have not. Not while I've been in the presence, at least.
I mean, Daedry's been carrying it with them everywhere they've been going, and has since set it down while they're doing this to Sylvain's hair. But now Gim is pointing at it and going, because there's the book.
Oui. Gordon, it's Gordon here.
Gordon, when you say that, you see Gordon running around outside and then also just shaking the water
Like,
off his fur,
literally
and then
this
running
is
around.
like-
some
Oh
more.
man,
Like a
I wish we
Simpsons
had
cartoon
rugs
just
and you
right
could
past
like
the door.
Yeah, I wish we had the rugs and you could just like do the slide that dogs do when they get out of the bath.
But I thought about that. But Gordon is refined. Gordon is house trained. Gordon
Of
wouldn't mess
course.
up the rugs
Of
course
course.
not.
for the
I'm
sake
not
of
house
getting
trained.
dry.
No, what kind of monster
Well, yeah.
would mess with rugs and tapestries?
I don't know.
Only monsters.
Monsters. That's me.
But that's what you, when you're like, where's Gordon? That's what you see. And then he does come in and once again pulls out that brush and is brushing his fur. And he's wearing like little shorts.
Little shorts. Oh,
I don't know.
Gordon.
Okay, good. You are here. We have a journal. So I had the great plan to investigate the office of Tylus, and we did some great investigating. We discovered that the walls are covered in daggers, and there's just like these most majestic tapestries that are just telling the
Really?
Mm.
Yeah.
I don't pull the hair. I just have it in my hand. Like if you have your hand fully wrapped around someone's ponytail.
It's
like,
the equivalent of getting the
long
brush
down
to the
the
back of
tail?
the head.
So you
It's like the
are
brush
that
going, bump.
intention, but it's just I'm just thinking about it real hard.
Okay, but what matters is that Gim and I have discovered the book, and this book is like a bestiary. It has so much information about beasts, and there is a connection that Adri has made to the beasts and to the Brotherhood of the Rust Brotherhood. It is difficult to remember which is which, but nonetheless, there is a connection, and we have to utilize this information to do revenge.
What's this book you're talking about?
Tadri?
Daedry will put the book on the table over Sylvain's shoulder with one hand and open it to the page with the marginalia, particularly the rust connection, and tap their finger on it.
If the Ross Brotherhood is connected to beasts, that might be why that hunter knows about it, Gordon.
What
Yeah.
is this mention of a hunter? I do not understand.
Oh yeah. Sylvain and I went to the tavern to tell Mason about Tylus, and Mason gave us some info about a regular who is a hunter tracker and who sometimes has mentioned the Rust Brotherhood or Brotherhood of Rust, and might have some info for us.
That's why I should sing there tonight.
Yeah.
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 I thought Adri was just listening to my voice and was like, oh wow, they're the best goblin minstrel ever. And obviously they should perform more, but I guess it's business.
It is not untrue.
Gim pipes up and says, do we know anything about this hunter? Like, who are they? Do we know what they look like?
Nope.
Do
we know their
anything?
kin? Do we know anything?
Nope.
I
I
don't think
figure
I got
we're
his
going to
name.
go there and Mason is going to like give me a code word.
Yeah.
What did you say, Gordon?
Oh
Also?
no, I don't think we got his name.
No.
We don't know what he looks like, or if so
No.
there's going to be a code word, maybe, and he's gonna
no.
that?
Mason's
Don't.
definitely going to do something good to let me know that's that. I mean, as if Mason stopped drinking, then Mason will be there.
Oh yeah, we
no.
gotta check on Mason. He didn't seem.
He didn't.
You know.
He wasn't. He didn't take it very well.
Yeah.
Oh, Mason.
Perhaps my song will help? Or
Maybe
make
your
it
song
worse.
help.
Yeah.
Is it a drinking song?
No, usually the ones about the dead that I really respected, I do not make about drinking. It is about
I hope I drink when I'm
shouting.
dead.
When you die, I will sing a song about drinking.
Okay.
Deal. That's all you have to do was ask.
Okay.
Perhaps one of your later works.
We have plenty of time.
Well, let's hope so.
But I mean, now we should. I don't know what time is it. Is it time we should go back down there?
I think it is bar time.
Our time.
And
Did you all get your
ready.
dinner? Yeah.
Huh.
Oh, I ate. We got some rabbits and one squirrel, just one. It was terrible. But yeah, rodents too.
It's better than rats.
Always.
Rats not good.
Rats and bats.
It's
not,
all in preparation.
It's too much work for the bats.
Gim is staring at all of you while this conversation moves forward. His just mouth is kind of slightly hung open, like he's trying to comprehend.
This poor young,
He's like-
this poor guy, like
He's just like where, like he clearly lost the thread at some point, and he's just kind of like trying to figure out where it was that he fell off the train. Like,
oh, come on, Gim, come on, you're gonna come with us to the bar.
oh yeah, okay. Oh, should I stay? I should go. I should come
You
with
should
you.
go. You should come
You
with
should
us.
come. Yeah.
All right, yeah. All right, let's go to this. Let's go to the tavern. God, I can't imagine how upset Mason must be.
Yeah, he was. I should put on pants. I'm gonna go put on pants.
I should put pants on.
You should put
Does
a lot of
anybody have
things.
socks?
What? No.
No.
I've never worn
Yes.
I
them.
don't wear
I will
socks. I
get
am
you
socks.
a pair. Come with me.
Okay. I wore my socks in the bath, Adri.
Yes.
It's just as she's walking behind
Yes, you did.
them.
All right.
Yep.
So as you all become just a cluttering, talking mess as you're trying to figure out what you're like where you're going.
Yeah.
About 30 minutes later, you all find yourselves entering into the bar, the tavern known as the Knight and Bard. It is late afternoon now, so the sun has begun to hang low in the sky. It's begun to hang low in the sky. You can see it's that beautiful kind of sunset where the sun has dipped below the cloud cover, but is still above the horizon as it's slipping down. The rain has been somewhat constant all day. It's just been a light drizzle. So it's constantly kind of like making everyone's hair a little stringy as everybody is like coming in, wiping their feet off as soon as they come into the bar. But as you move into the tavern, there's already a nice crackling fire in the center of the place going, and there's a lot of conversation that's filling up the place. And you see Mason doing his work and having conversations. And typically when you see Mason at work, when the tavern starts to get busy, he's always at his liveliest. He's always engaged. It's like he comes to life when his tavern is open for people to come in and eat and drink. Tonight, he is not so. Tonight, he's kind of giving short answers to everybody and nodding and fetching drinks. Somebody at one point kind of teases him that he's being a little quiet, and he replies with a tease in return and successfully deflects it and gives the guy his drink and sends him on his way. When he sees a lot of you walk into the room, he just nods to you and motions everybody to come over. He pulls one of the bar towels out and puts it around his fist, just drops it onto the bar as he moves over to everybody lining up in front of him. He moves over to all of you and just says, here on time, I'll give you that. So, he's not here yet, but I'll point him out as soon as he walks in.
Very well, thank you.
You can like give us a code word or something. Like come up with a code word. And
you're not going to be able to hear anything I say to you from the bar, unless you're planning on staying at the bar.
Stay at the bar. I'm going to go sit at a table.
Then just keep your eye on it.
She wanders off and sits at a table.
Hmm.
I think Sylvain's used to being able to rely on Thaydri to keep eyes open.
Right.
Yes, I am the Pippa friend. And in fact, in that spirit, I lean over to Mason. Do you have a hot something we can put in her? I think she is also having a hard time today.
Seems to be going around. I'll see what I can get for you.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
AJ. He looks at you and says, this one that comes in, I don't know him very well. So trust your own instinct of whether or not he's trustworthy. All I know is he's the one that I've heard talking. So follow up with that, but he's no friend of mine. So use your judgment.
Always do.
A mug gets pushed to you, Thaydri, that has some kind of piping hot liquid inside. Don't ask. And then he moves away.
Thaydri will just dip their pinky.
Thaydri, for a
just
split
curious.
second, it has a pleasing, and if you're into this sort of thing, it has the pleasing taste of sort of a licorice taste to it. And as it lingers in your mouth, it becomes incredibly bitter. So the aftertaste is not very forgiving.
That's disgusting. I wonder
Probably
what
the
it is.
point.
Right. It is both cure and Pavlovian conditioning. They set it in front of Sylvain and
Are we
sit
going to
down at the
listen to
table that she's
Jakob
found.
sing? We have not heard Jakob sing in a long time.
Jakob's up to something over there. I can tell something's going on. You don't play. There's shenanigans. If you got BeeZelda in your game, there's gonna be shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
Well, first we shenan. Thereafter, if we are required to do it more than once.
Then we shall shenan again. All right. So, yeah, I would say about an hour or so of the impatience kind of starting to settle in as more and more people are filtering into the tavern. The night bard starts to become a lively place. By now, the sun has set, and you can see the oil lamps outside being lit in the streets. These, of course, are old oil lamps that just kind of dangle from these precarious wooden, or rather, I'm sorry, these sort of iron hooks that just kind of hang outside of some of the stone houses. So it's enough to light a little bit of the streets. But of course, the rain's still coming down. It's one of those sort of groggy nights where it's preferable to be indoors with a crackling fire and good company and a nice hot drink. So people are definitely filtering in. One point, somebody does break out into song, and half of the tavern tells them to shut up. And the gentleman who did break into song takes off his hat and bows and says, "That'll be 1 copper each to shut me up." And then somebody throws a roll at his face, and laughter breaks out. There is a general air of joviality around the tavern, in stark contrast to the barkeep, who is still just managing the tavern and is not joining in tonight. But as this continues forward, it's not like Mason really had to point him out, because of all the people that have walked through the doors, this is the only person that has walked through the door holding looks like a brace of rabbits. He's got like 4 rabbits on a stick that are just kind of hanging over the side on leather strips, just kind of hanging there, like bringing in his kill. You see entering into the tavern, also making room for somebody who was trying to enter at the same time as a human pushes past him. But you see a dwarf about 4'9", so pretty big and stocky for a dwarf. Doesn't have like that big heavy build that you see in like the fantasy Tolkien-esque sort of like dwarven culture kind of thing. This one, he looks probably, again, matching the description of someone who's probably lived most of their life out on the road, or who has lived most of their life amongst the wilderness, the trees. Short beard, kept nice and trim, that kind of ties off at the very end, and is kind of bunched up at the bottom. Thick black curls to match the color of his beard that are tied back into a ponytail, but they kind of cascade down the side of his face. And he looks like he's a younger dwarf, like he might be in the dwarven equivalent of like his late to mid 30s. So not a lot of lines on his face. Sharp nose, looks ruggedly handsome. Dressed in what looks like a fine tunic that's been probably well crafted, but worn and worn and worn and worn again, to the point where any of the dyes that splashed color across some of the folds in the tunic and the leather folds themselves of the armor has long since worn away, leaving this sort of faded greenish color on some of it. But you do see the metal studs, indicating he is wearing, in fact, studded leather armor. He also has on his back a large, heavy crossbow. And there is what would appear to be throwing knives in his belt, along with a hand axe. He screams hunter when he walks in the door, basically. He just looks the part. He just walks in with these rabbits kind of slung over on the stick, just dangling there. And he moves over immediately to the bar And you see that half-elven boy who is sort of keeping track of everybody's money and handing out drinks, sees it and his eyes brighten up and he rushes over to it and immediately takes it. Dwarf gives him a smile and nods as he hands him over. And the elven boy runs back into the kitchen with 3 rabbits on the stick, just takes them back as they're dangling through and goes to the door. And the dwarf helps himself up to the bar. And of course, by then, you all glance over at Mason, who this whole time has been nodding to you. And kind of motions over to him, moves over and starts having a conversation. The dwarf is talking candidly back with him. And a few moments later, Mason sets down a large mug in front of him and tosses the dwarf a couple of coppers as well as a silver piece. And the dwarf nods in gratitude, counts the money real quick and stuffs it into a pocket and starts enjoying his drink. He's now sitting by himself at the bar.
Has Jakob taken to the stage yet?
You certainly can if you want.
I think now is the time for a good old-fashioned Jakob performance.
Yay.
All right.
Do we want, what kind of a role are we looking for to keep the audience?
I believe performance
Fully
is its own
captured.
check.
It is. It's its own check. Not only is its own check, but in Forbidden Lands, rolling checks like this can actually have a very positive effect, particularly because you were following a specific path, Jakob.
Uh-huh.
So if you wanted to use this as an ability, you could, but I wouldn't recommend it because you don't need to spend willpower right now. But, on that point, let me go ahead and award Thadri and Jakob a willpower point now for having entered the tavern and enjoyed some drinks and good food. Also back at the Perch, where you all were rewarded some good drink and good
thank
food.
you.
Because, no joke, when I created the NPC sheet for Gim, I took the hunter talent, the cooking talent. He is a cook.
Yay.
Yep. He figured he was. I was, because when I built the NPCs, I'm like, okay, what's the life like at the Perch? And I was like, there's no way Gim wouldn't have learned some cooking when he wasn't working on Metalworks. He would have absolutely learned some cooking from Tylus. So let's go ahead and make a roll here. Yeah, let's see. This is going to be an empathy check. This is a performance check, so it's going to be your performance and your empathy plus. I believe you get an additional bonus for having that nice musical instrument of yours.
Okay, so that's a lot of, okay, so performance.
Which is white dice. Empathy will be red dice. And then you add a gear bonus because if you remember correctly, we gave you that snazzy musical instrument. I believe you gain a +1.
This is an outrageous roll. I'm going to roll it, but oh my God.
Yeah. You can earn money here, by the way.
3 successes, sorry, and 1 bane.
Toss a coin.
Which doesn't count.
3 successes?
Mm-hmm.
All right, hold on. I'm gonna make
Everybody loves you.
even odd. I rolled.
We didn't even need a die roll.
I rolled
for that.
even. All right.
What does that mean?
I was trying to decide if the audience was going to be able to afford paying you in copper or silver. But yes, you do get coins. Yeah. Okay. So Deidre, you watch as Jakob takes to the stage, and at first, like, people are aware of the Miststalkers. And there's a mixed reception from you all. For the most part, people kind of steer clear of you, but also because of the way you all behave in public. No one seems to take you particularly seriously, except for when you get, fearsome. Then everyone
We throw manticore heads on the floor in the town hall.
Exactly. But for the most part, everyone kind of treats y'all to these people. You're very much, let me put it this way. For the most part, the town kind of treats y'all like Guardians of the Galaxy style. Like, oh, it's those guys. And kind of move on. So there is a little bit of eye rolling and kind of laughing and pointing when Jakob takes to the stage. Because Jakob, as you are jumping up onto the stage and you start strumming a little bit, it occurs to you, this might be the first time you've played at this place. Of all the times you've played, these people don't know the glory that is Jakob.
I feel like I'm normally here for like the morning audience. Never the actual, there's only like sleeping people in the mornings. So this is really, really nice.
You strike the chords and begin to sing. And you begin to build a song. Now, tell me what this song is. Give me a gist of what it is. Is it a bawdy song? Is it funny? Is it a dirge? Is it like a funny rhyme
It's almost a battle song.
to get the blood going?
Yeah, to kind of get like the cups pounding on the
Okay.
tables and having people chanting, fight the monster, fight the monster. To really, and there's like mentions of a brotherhood, not a specific brotherhood. We've got the inclusion of the fantastical room that this incredible being dwelled in, with the daggers on the walls and the writing in blood. It's kind of this exaggerated version of what Tylus was in all of his glory and leadership, and the ability to take care of his people, and the keep that he maintained in all of the monsters that were slain to protect the people. It all kind of comes together with the chorus of fight the monster, fight the monster.
Fight the monster, fight the monster. You took Path of the Hymn, correct?
You got it.
So your songs are known to basically cause an emotional reaction, a response. Path of the Hymn is the healing path of songs that minstrels can use. Then there's Path of the Song, which kind of inspires people to pay attention to the. It's more of the performative. It's very much more the Yasker style of like trying to draw everyone's attention so that if you need to pickpocket, you can, but like getting everyone to look in your direction kind of thing. Then there's Path of the War Cry, which is literally like the warrior skald who gets out on the battlefield and starts shouting obscenities and summoning everybody to like summon their strength. But then you have Path of the Hymn, which is the path of like someone taking that which is good in the world and reminding you about it, that which is courageous in the world, and reminding, like summoning forth your courage and reminding you to get back up. You are basically the Mickey to everyone's Rocky, telling everybody to get up off the mat once you've been knocked down. And as you take to the table and begin to sing, more and more laughter about what you're singing, what you're doing quiets, and then some laughter as you kind of draw, you play a little bit, Jakob, on the expectation that this is going to be absurdity. And instead you use that to draw them in. It takes a few lines before you have them kind of laughing, and then you say something rather like metal as fuck, and you hear some shouts of agreement, and then you're off to the races. You all watch, very difficult to keep your eye, in fact, on the hunter at the bar as Jakob scores 3 successes and unleashes a song in front of the tavern that even gets Mason to stop what he's doing and smile and pay attention. And sure enough, Jakob, just as you were hoping for, mugs start smashing in perfect time on the table. You hear feet stomping and people cheering. And as you continue to build and build and build, people who don't even know the lyrics of the song kind of build up as they can follow along, that you are reaching the crescendo of fight the monster, attract the monster, kill. Like you keep going bigger and bigger until the entire tavern erupts in a roar as you reach the crescendo and finish. Cheers erupting everywhere, and applause and laughter, and everyone just like, a few people are getting buried underneath again, and then like just absolute mayhem. With 3 successes, the entire tavern is in the palm of your hand, Jakob. You gain 8 silver from this performance. Because that's what I rolled. So for 3 successes, a lot of the people and the merchants have no problem forking over a silver a piece. You even see people like, hey, give me exchanging copper and switching it out and handing you a silver piece. Like the adoration of the crowd is palpable. And drinks are immediately delivered to you.
Cheers. I have been Jakub. I am the greatest goblin bard you could ever set your eyes upon.
And right when you say that, as you're about to drink, finally, because of all the heavy breathing, as you drink, Jakob, finally, the nose plugs jet straight out of your nostrils and into your drink as you just take a big, long swig. And everyone cheers. Which at that point, Thadri, you glance back with a grin on your face just in time to see the hunter stepping out of the tavern. The door closing behind him.
I elbow Sylvain and Gordon. He's leaving.
What?
We need to go get him now. The hunter tracker.
Yeah. Oh crap! Let's go. Let's go.
Sylvain hops up and heads straight for the door.
Okay.
Not wearing the not with the big sword. She didn't bring her big sword to the tavern. She brought the little sword that's hidden somewhere else, like behind in the belt, where it won't get taken by somebody.
Okay.
Phaedri looks back over their shoulder to where Jakob is surrounded by adoring fans and collecting their well-earned silver, and makes eye contact with a little bit of a but mostly signaling, hey, we're going out there. You do you. You earned
Get
it.
an acknowledging nod back.
What are you doing, Gordon?
Out the door.
Yeah, Gordon's heading outside. Same. Yeah. See.
Okay.
Yeah.
The three of you exit the door quickly. The moment the door closes behind all of you and the light from the interior of the tavern is pulled back so you can actually see into the dark a little bit, you do easily catch about 30 feet away, walking at a steady pace, the hunter. He's easy to spot because he's literally humming the song he just heard inside the tavern. You can hear him singing it to himself, the parts that he remembers. And then he goes into a hum for every other part, the way you do when you first hear a song. But he's got some pep in his step and is completely unaware of the three of you as you emerge from the tavern.
Gordon starts to quicken pace, not to sneak up on this person. In fact, Gordon actually is going to also start to sing this song along with the hunter, like, fight the monster, fight the monster.
Okay.
Oh, that was a great song, wasn't it, mate? And just try to catch up to him.
It's impressive because what you get from him in the swift motion that he does is that he is somebody who is very in tune with his surroundings. He uses the slippery mud underneath the heel of his boot to pivot in a speed that normal people could not do. And when he swings around in one fluid motion of that, he has loaded the crossbow and pulled it back and is aiming it at you, Gordon.
Whoa.
It happens so fast that the three of you are kind of alarmed to see him, and he's got it pointed up. And you see the look of surprise on his face. Not menace, just like alarm as he's holding it up.
Hey, sorry, mate. Didn't mean to scare you or sneak up on you.
He immediately dips the point down, so it's not pointed at you when you say that. And he goes, all right.
You good? You want to put that away? Maybe have a chat?
Yeah. Do I want to have a chat?
You do want to have a chat. And Sylvain kind of walks up next to Gordon.
Do I?
We need
We're
your
very
help,
nice
mate.
people. And we need your help.
She said.
He kind of susses it out, and then he says, all right, I'm listening.
You heard of the Russ brothers and what they did here the other night?
He lowers it a little bit more and says, I didn't hear about what they did, but I do know that they came through here.
They killed our mentor and our leader, Tylus. We need to find them and make them pay for what they did and stop them from hurting anyone else.
He reaches down and puts the bolt back into the quiver. And
I'm guessing you don't like them too much?
The Ross Brotherhood? No, I don't.
Good. Then we can be friends.
Well, not big on friends, really. I'm bigger on coin.
Work acquaintances.
All right. So what do you want from me? You just want me to tell you
what you know. If it could help us, it's worth it to us. We have the leads that we have, but we don't know where exactly they came from before they set fire to our home. Beyond that, they were in league with things that would be bad for your business as well as our own.
Go ahead and make your roll, Thaydri.
So,
And you
it's
add
like
a plus-
hot potato in this group. Like, who
Yeah.
ends up getting stuck with the empathy check?
You can add a +1 though, because both Gordon and Sylvain have contributed here, and he's in a good mood thanks to Jakob. In fact, why don't we give you a +2, and that'll be an addition. Oh, you know what though? You can also, if you want, you can roll your reputation check too. He's not from Seven Raven,
Good, yeah.
so make a
Alright.
reputation check, and you have a reputation of 2, I believe.
Yes, we do. Nope,
Okay.
those were both 5s.
Okay, so he doesn't know what the Mistalkers are then.
I'm gonna pull up the social conflict real quick because there are all those modifiers, and
Mhm. Oh, you want to use every single one you've got available to you?
one, I don't have adaptive here.
Oh, right, that's right. There's this amazing human kin talent called adaptive that lets you go like, oh, look, I don't have scouting. Well, I'm just going to use my adaptive talent, and I'm going to turn my performance skill into scouting. So now I can roll performance instead of scouting. It's really awesome. All right, so I know that it is going to be an empathy manipulation check.
It's empathy manipulation. I know things. That is my job. But I've ended up with the conversational hot potato. So it is an empathy check where everything is the situational modifiers.
I'm giving you some bonus dice here because here's how this is going to work. You're going to get a +1 from Gordon and Sylvain.
Okay.
You're going to get an additional +1 from Jakob.
Yes.
And you're going to gain an additional +1 for a total of 3 die bonus because he hates the Ross Brotherhood, apparently.
All right. I'll roll on that then.
So roll all of them. Tell me what you get. 5 Banes.
No, then I'd be laughing. Also, I don't even have 5 attribute dice to get Banes on here. But I did get 1 6. So
okay, that's all you needed.
I'm exceeding expectations, all right, y'all?
Yeah, not too shabby. All right. So you make your case and tell him this. He's listening intently, and it seems like he's being a bit reserved. But as you continue explaining to, like, kind of going further into what it is you're doing and why it is you want to find these people, you get the impression that he is detecting that hint of loss. There's a little bit of vulnerability in your voice that comes out as you're talking to him, Thaydri, that maybe whether you intended it to be so or not, but he nods after a moment and says, all right. You lost someone important to you. The Ross Brotherhood took him. I can appreciate that. I can. It's hard to tell who you're talking to these days. You don't know if someone's trying to drag you out into the middle of the wilderness and kill you or take what you got. But you 3 seem like looks like you've seen some death. So I'm going to take your word for this. He relaxes a little bit and he strides up and he goes, my name's Kagik. It's Kaggik. And yeah, I've seen where they're coming from. You have to know these kinds of things so you can avoid them. And if you're willing, I'm open to be hired. I can take you there. I don't know how experienced a lot of you are at wandering Ravenland. Things have changed a lot since the Blood Mist lifted, and I know this land pretty well. So if you're interested, I offer my services. Otherwise, I'll just point you in the direction.
What's your rate?
2 silver.
Yes. And Thaydri takes it out of their silver out of their purse without a second thought.
Okay.
Half advance, I assume. Same as our work.
He nods. Your work. What do you do, if you don't mind my asking? Extends his hand.
Monster hunters.
You see that gets his attention. He says, "Really?"
Hmm.
He takes the silver coin and looks at it for a second and pockets it. And says, "Huh. I'll have to ask you more about that."
We'll have plenty of time on the road. We're leaving in the morning.
I can show you a manticore barb. I still have it. I totally didn't give it back.
You
he looks between the two of you and says, "Well, anyway, where do you want to meet?"
outside the Northeast Gate.
Do you have a horse, or do you travel on foot?
I mostly travel on foot. Can't afford a horse.
All right, then foot it is. Northeast Gate, dawn? Or slightly after, preferably?
Dawn's probably the best.
Oh,
It starts not that far, to be honest with you.
I
But-
know.
I don't know what we're going to find when we get there either.
Right.
Gordon would like to do a insight check.
That's a very good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Gordon, the wolfkin, this whole time is just going to, Go ahead and make an insight roll.
May I join you?
Please.
Yeah.
You have more wits than me.
Mm-hmm.
Sylvain is
Go ahead.
just keeping his attention, babbling about.
You all hear a roar of laughter and cheers inside the tavern as Jakob is clearly starting up another song. And by the way, you don't have to roll for every song. That is your performance roll for the evening. So there, you
Yeah.
out of
It's
your
okay.
hand, Jakob.
That makes sense for all that money.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This is you are earning some serious coin tonight.
Oh God, this is
They
just,
appreciate
like,
the arts in Seven
fuel
Raven. I
for
like
my
that.
ego.
Can I move to 7, Raven?
Right?
Well, I just want to point this out again. This game system does a brilliant job of giving bards and minstrels a really powerful, meaningful thing to do in a game where wounds and combat is very dangerous. But it goes further than that. It's empathy damage and wits damage, which bards can heal by uplifting people and singing songs again. That stuff is normally very difficult to heal out on the road. So,
This is so cool.
yeah.
You can be a not just like murder machine
Right.
in the
In the murder machine
grim
game.
fantasy game.
It's
Of
true.
all
Yeah.
places to not have like only combat rolls. Oh hey, there's like a whole freaking proper.
No joke. We could have done this entire campaign as peddlers, and it would have been a whole
Cool.
thing.
It's the best. It's the best.
You guys could have been, you all could have been blacksmiths and traders and public, and like we could have had an entire RPG campaign. We're like every single dice roll is crafting and social combat, and it would still be a Forbidden Lands game. It's pretty wild.
Very
Um,
cool.
All right. So what did you get on those insight checks?
I got 2 successes.
Okay. How about you, Thadri? Same?
2 successes, 2 banes.
2. Okay.
Ooh, I just got 1 bane. No push.
Both of you get that this dwarf is on the level. You get the impression that he is a very self-assured individual. He seems pretty confident in what he can do, and he seems to have a lot of his emotional state. Because you got 2 successes, I'm giving you your impression of him, and then I'm going to tell you what his emotional state is. He seems quite sympathetic. You can definitely detect that he is sympathetic towards you, and also, not surprisingly, he's not much of an insight check, keenly interested in the description of what a monster hunter is and what that does.
And while they're making the insight check, they would probably stop insight checking right around the time they hear Sylvain go. And of course, we're always accepting applications.
And he
We
nods.
need to. We need to.
And he tugs on the beard and he goes, "I'll have to ask some more questions, but I mean,
All the tapestries you can steal.
oh, good. Yeah, no, that's good. I'm
It's
on
very
a
important.
significant tapestry shortage right now.
Also, the
Yes.
perch has hot springs.
Hot springs.
Oh, good. So something to
Food.
solve my tapestry drought and an actual drought. That's
Yeah.
Sylvain is actually laughing at this point.
And despite all of that, it's still good and important work.
It
But
is.
if
Hmm.
you see what we do, on our journey and it appeals to you, you know where to find us. Well, most of us, anyway. The last one is singing of our deeds, and we should collect him.
That
the
goblin's
bard's
with
one of
you?
us. Yeah.
He thumbs over to the tavern. He goes, "That goblin's with you?"
You know, they say that they're the greatest goblin minstrel, but it's selling them far too short.
They might just be the greatest minstrel.
I've yet to hear a competitor.
I might have to agree. All right.
Northeast Gate, Dawn.
Done. Yeah. And
Right.
be ready, because I don't know what you think you're heading into, but I've never met just a couple of Russ brothers. There's usually a lot of them.
I hope it's a promise. Good night, Kaka.
We know
Right.
what we're heading into, friend. Killing monsters. And Sylvain
Hunting
like
monsters,
slings
too.
her arm around Thaydree's shoulder and then Gordon's shoulder. And is like, we're good at it.
The drink still clearly having its way with Sylvain.
I don't even think it is.
It's not.
As they sort of stiffen into this. I think she's just like this.
It's actually true.
And despite that, despite knowing that everything about this act is utter tripe, they will put their arm round and under Sylvain just a little, not providing meaningful support, but she doesn't need it anyway.
Let's go get Jakob, because we're all going to need to sleep for like an hour.
Yeah, y'all need a quarter day's rest, so you can. That's my next question to Gordon, Thaydree, Jakob, and Sylvain. What do you all do? How long do you all stay at the Knight and Bard?
We need
Sylvain is done. We're done.
Okay. Jakob, however you wish to wrap up the night, but by the end of your performances, there is a call from the entire audience begging Mason to change, because outside the Knight and Bard is the tavern sign that swings gently in the wind that depicts both a knight and a singing bard, and the cries to replace that bard with a goblin bard. People are just, there's cheers going up, and people and like pressuring Mason, who at first was taking it as a joke and who is now kind of like shifting, like, all right, we'll talk it over. And you just see like people are like, and they are chanting the name. When y'all enter into the tavern again, the door, if the camera was to pull away, if this was a television show and the camera was to pull away with y'all going back into the tavern, the moment the door opened and light spilled out into the rainy evening, it would be the explosion of sounds of people chanting the name Jakob before you all walked in and the door closed again. Let's go to the next day. So that early morning, Gim is nervously packing up all of your rations and putting them together in packs for all of you. I'm going to give everyone D8 rations and D8 water to start with. So mark that down on your character sheets.
All right.
Gim does apologize at that point. He's like, hey, it's all we have in the stores right now, unfortunately. I'll have to go down to town and see if I can purchase some more. I wasn't aware that you were all leaving the next day. But I'm glad you are.
No point waiting around. We'll lose the track before long. The money from the Manticore should cover resupply.
Yes.
I'll take care of it, and I'll make sure that
Maybe,
I can, if I have your permission to spend that money, what we have to spend for the general coffers for everyone, not of course your share, but I think I can start working on making some improvements around here. Stocking the larder, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe some kind of security measures.
If I can get my hands on the materials, I can build us a gate.
All right.
Because he also took the crafter talent. Yeah. He took the builder talent, rather.
Very
All
well.
right.
Rank 1 builder, rank 3 blacksmith.
My opinion,
nice.
use the money as you see fit. You are the steward of the perch.
Steward of the perch.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that sounds... I'll make Tylus proud, and you will make him proud too.
We will. You best believe we will.
Mm-hmm.
Raven, watch over you. And, you know, if you believe that kind of thing.
Raven, watch over you.
One by one, like a dirty ragtag version of the Fellowship, the four of you walking in a column, walk out into the muddy courtyard, exit through the gate, and start heading down towards the bridge. Seven Raven, it's early morning, so there's still a heavy fog that has settled over the valley down below. And Seven Raven looks peaceful and quiet as the fog is starting to slowly burn away as the sun begins to rise swiftly. When you all walk through the streets, you only encounter the occasional guard yawning as they walk past you and nodding. It is cold this morning, but not bitingly so. So there's mild discomfort if anybody is not a fond of the cold. Sam, as you all continue to move through the streets, you easily spot at the gate, the aforementioned gate that you were all rallied to meet at, you see Kagik waiting there, smoking what looks like a very large, ornate, very finely crafted pipe. And you all approach. The first thing he does when he sees you is you bid him good morning. He walks right up to Jakob and goes, "I'm sorry, may I shake your hand? That was some of the most fantastic.
Yeah.
Really, truly, that was amazing last night. You got my blood boiling. Just thank you so much for that. That was good. It was a good way to unwind at the end of a long day of hunting."
Absolutely. If you ever want to toss a coin to your barda, we are always accepting it.
Oh, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if the money I make off this venture somehow ends up in your pocket again. He smiles. Well, he puts the pipe back in his mouth and looks at everybody and says, "I don't know how this day is going to end, but I do know that one of the things that's going to happen is that by sunset, I'm going to have you all within sight of the Russ brothers. So prepare yourselves."
Okay.
I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
Follow me. Taps out the pipe just as the Final Fantasy travel music comes on. Taps it out. The lot of you all, yeah. Final Fantasy. I go straight to that one too. It's iconic. It's iconic. I bought the soundtrack. It was Final Fantasy 3 on the SNES, and I bought the soundtrack from a magazine the moment it was released. Anyway.
I sing it.
Do you?
Oh my goodness.
You do
There's words.
Yes.
You did the General's Opera.
I've recorded it for charity in 2020.
I was there
with two of my opera friends and Aliza.
I am so uncultured. I am such an uncultured swine.
It's on YouTube. I'll send it to you.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, let's make that part of the announcements that we didn't get to. Yeah, everybody, Kelly sang Final Fantasy 3 on SNES, or was it 6 in the release?
Mm-hmm. And if you don't know, now you know.
Yeah.
Now you know.
All right. Let me make sure that that's still okay. Let's pull up the map as we are going on our journeys now. So he is leading you to the east. Now, the interesting part about this is you have all scouted enough to the east to have actually been able to move through here without needing a lead the way check. And so is he. He's taking you into the hills near Whaler's Hold. So let's go ahead and I'm going to have him roll lead the way. Or no, we don't need a lead the way roll. I'm going to have, who wants to keep watch? Because he can scout too, if you want him to be the one that's keeping a lookout while you guys are all journeying. Would you prefer that?
How acute does he seem? If
He's
this
skilled.
could perhaps be scaled to numbers somehow.
Yeah, he's skilled. He's rolling 7 dice.
Okay, that's
He knows
more
what
than
he's
I've
doing.
got, and I don't need any willpower, so I don't feel any need to prove anything.
Okay.
Well, speaking of which, should I spend a willpower now?
You can, yes.
Yeah, I'm like
Once you find something, then you get to pick it up from the thing you find,
honestly,
Oh,
Yeah, so so
Okay.
here's how that would work. Yeah, you would need to, Gordon, you're gonna have to retroactively spend because it's willpower you have to spend the moment you find it.
Right. So it
when
would
you
have
get the
been
scent.
oh.
So you would have had to have
Ugh.
spent a willpower yesterday, and then you will have to have spent more willpower in order
Like,
to keep.
for a few
Yeah,
days.
because you'll need to keep it going.
Ugh. How about not? Because then I would be spending all my willpower.
Yeah, you
And-
can save it. You've got to.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll-
you literally just hired a scout
Yeah.
and you literally just hired a tracker and a hunter.
Once we
So-
find a thing to track, like once he takes us as far as he can, then I'll do it.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to refer to my hidden character sheets. Dun dun dun. And I'm going to.
For hidden characters, once they move out of stealth, we get to see the sheets. That's the law.
Nonsense.
Are the characters just actually like character sheets? What with like
No, I'm actually
legs
using the
and
Foundry program, so it has a bunch of pre-programmed NPCs. Sponsor us, Foundry, and a lot of stuff that I can use to easily just pull up. And I'm using hunter stats basically right now for our boy. So let me roll and see how we do. Okay.
Tragic.
Rolling the dice. 3 successes. I would say he does quite well keeping lookouts. Let me roll on the ye old encounter table. Oh man, I hope for y'all's sake you don't encounter anything, because the last thing you need when you're jonesing for a fight, the last thing you need is to run into
Is
something.
to find one.
Yeah. Let's see what
Oh,
happens.
If you give us a
Oh my god, wouldn't that be a thing? All right, here we go. I'm gonna roll here. Let's see what we get. And I roll. Okay.
give Sylvain the insult.
Okay. What is this? What? Hold up.
Holding.
Well, I don't think you rolled nothing.
This is new. I have not rolled this one
Oh.
before.
I don't like this.
Right? Should I be worried?
Well, no, the very, very worst thing he has rolled before.
Oh, that's true.
So this is better than the absolute worst possible thing he could roll.
I love
Other
this.
than that, I have no information whatsoever. But usually gauging the reactions as he reads the block are, I admit, truly my favorite. If it's very bad or very funny, he laughs. Both cases, which is incredibly disquieting.
Yeah.
Mm.
Hmm?
The
Oh
deep
my God.
thought. Oh no! See.
What is it?
I love this game. It's so weird. All right. Okay. So out here away from Seven Raven, the land is a little more scattered. You are not exactly encountering the same landscapes as you might see, say, on the map, where you will note that it looks like it's just open plains. Out here, the trees are represented. These great forests just means that this is where a great forest is. But there are still tall pines that you are all passing, because remember, this realm has been untouched for 300 years. Not too many people have journeyed out this far. The first quarter day, as you've moved outside the perch, you reach this hex, or I'm sorry, you were going northeast. So you reach this hex here, as you can see. And I'm going to, just to keep track of this, I'm going to mark it. I'll just put a line underneath. Conversation happening in the middle of the party while y'all are going about your business. Every now and then someone's saying something to irritate Thaydri, who snaps at Sylvain, and so on and so forth. As the
Even
banter
if Sylvain wasn't the one that said it.
Yeah. You all of you see up ahead, Kagik is keeping point in the party and is just kind of looking around. He's doing his, Strider thing, where he's just kind of just ahead of everybody, like gauging the air, taking a look at the ground, every now and then seeing if anybody's following all of you, but keeping his eye out, right? And as he's moved through this area, you see he pauses for a second and he waves at everybody like he's hearing something. And you see him kind of move up to the top of a hillside where you can see a tree line of like a small patch of great pines. And he just stands there and stares and cocks his head to the right. And he looks like he forgets about all of you for a moment. As his hand slowly lowers and he gets this, he looks back at you for a second and then he looks back in the direction he was looking at and his brow furrows as he stares off into that direction. He doesn't say anything.
I'd like to move on up.
Sylvain is confused and would like to move up next to him.
One by one, each of you move up the hill until you get to the hilltop. You might have been expecting to see something like the Rustic Brotherhood is gathered here, maybe a campsite. You might have expected to see something insidious, something that perhaps would lead to what some might say is a spine-tingling Campbell cliffhanger. But no. Instead, what you see hanging from the trees is a dwarf in what appears to be, for those of you who have no idea what it is you're looking at, a hot air balloon, which has become completely entangled in the top pines and is wrapped around the side. The dwarf himself looks like he is tangled up in what looks like a bunch of ropes and is hanging upside down, calling out for help. When he spots all of you and shouts in your direction with great relief in his voice, it is not what any of you were expecting to see. And at that particular moment, you see Kagik looks at everybody and goes, two things I should tell all of you is one, I don't know what the hell I'm looking at, and two, I don't want to sound heartless, but are we going to help him?
It won't take very long.
Yes.
Cutting the ropes shouldn't take that much time.
I literally can't imagine just like walking past this person and letting them hang from a tree. So yes, we're going to help them.
All right. And with that, the lot of you march towards this dwarf who is calling out, "Oh, thank you. You're coming my way, right? You're coming my way. I have things I can give you. Thank you so much. I could use a little bit of help." And the four of you marching towards this patch of forest, a slight detour from the destiny that awaits you, and what is, I believe, next to be our last episode of Seven Raven.
Is it already?
All too soon.
Chapter 4.
Oh.
You all move towards the tree line. How this will tie into the story, we will have to see. But that is the great yes and of playing Forbidden Lands and rolling randomly on the table. Somehow, this is going to tie into the story. You move towards this dwarf who is grateful for your help, and that is where we are going to close Chapter 3. One of the most fun role-played and bizarre chapters of a fantasy RPG I've played in a long time. Y'all, that was great. I cannot wait to see what such a weird penultimate episode.
Yeah. Like, damn.
So yeah, we will see what this leads us to. But let's go ahead and before we sign off for the night, let's go ahead and do experience points real quick. Just get it out of the way, and also so that once again the audience can get a good look at how this is going to play out. So right off the top, I can say you all gain 1, obviously, for playing in the game. Thank you for tolerating me and being a part of my RPG experience.
Don't even joke about it. We don't tolerate that here.
So 1 XP for being here. You traveled through at least 1 hex on the game map that you had not visited. Technically, that's not true. However, narrative, I mean, it is, but it isn't, but it is. So gain an XP. Because even though I marked that down as territory that is familiar to you, in truth, mechanically, you had all never adventured since it's your first time playing. So I'm going to go ahead and count it. So you gain 1 XP from that.
Thank you.
Did you discover at least 1 new adventure site? This time you did not. Did you defeat 1 or more monsters? This time you did not. Did you find 1 or more treasure or gold? You were paid a gold piece today, so gain an XP.
Heck yeah.
Did you build a function of your stronghold? No. However, that might be something you gain next time because you did instruct Gim to start you did give Gim some money and say, do what you can do with this place. So he might actually start using that to build new functions to your stronghold, including fortification, which is not a one-man job. So it'll be interesting to see what y'all come back to. Nobody activated their pride, and surprisingly enough,
well,
you know what?
kind
Yeah,
of.
you probably did actually,
yeah,
didn't you? You did. You gained an XP. You did. You absolutely did. You're right. I have that here in front of me. You absolutely
I'm
did.
arrogant.
You didn't just activate your pride. You invoked it multiple times and literally quoted it a couple times.
And made money. It was good.
Yeah. And then nobody suffered from the Dark Secret this time around, but all of y'all did phenomenal role play. So gain an additional XP. And that is going to bring us to an end for tonight's chapter of 7, Raven. So when I say the ending of the chapter, I do not mind telling you that there is that even though we might be wrapping up this story of the Miststalkers, I can't imagine us not playing this game again one day. Let's see what happens, though, in the next chapter, the final chapter of this story arc, because I warned the players when we first started playing this, and I'm letting the audience know now. Forbidden Lands can be a very deadly game, and they're going into the mouth of the lion. So we will see what happens next game might shape the future game's run of the story of 7, Raven. Don't miss it. I am going to be nervously biting my nails all next game session. But until then, my friends, Raven watch over you.